Little wind, a lot of cold, temperature at 33 degrees, and it'll drop as the Patriots home to play the Cleveland Browns. Browns headed by first-year coach Rob Chudzinski. This is just his 13th game as an NFL head coach. His counterpart, Bill Belichick, is coaching in his 227th game as a head coach. Bill Belichick, as good as there is. Look at his win percentage. 14th season now as the Patriots head coach. Was head coach of the Browns for 5 years. Patriots won the toss, Steve, and they have elected to kick off. They'll send their defense out first. They want to see what Jason Campbell has at quarterback.
Yeah, the Patriots did win the toss. They deferred, and the Browns chose to receive, and the Patriots picked this in. Now, they know this stadium. This is their home stadium. They chose this in for a reason. Look for that to become evident as the game wears on.
Fozzie Whitaker is back. Takes the ball at the 1-yard line. Whitaker finds a gap and goes out to the 28-yard line. So a good opening return, 27-yard return. There is Jason Campbell, the starting quarterback, in his 9th year overall. Spent 5 years at Washington, 3 at Oakland, was with Chicago briefly last year. Coming off missed his last game with a concussion, but he said they went through all the protocols and they were extensive, but he feels fine. And he's ready to start now. His overall record as a starting quarterback in the NFL, 32 wins and 43 losses. McGahee, a less than 3-yard per carry runner on average, but he got about 7 there. We look at the Browns on offense. Joe Thomas left tackle, Alex Mack the center. Neither has ever missed so much as a snap, let alone a game in their NFL careers. Thomas, a 6-time Pro Bowler. Gotta watch is the wide receiver to the right, Josh Gordon, putting up numbers that are really phenomenal as a wide receiver. Over almost 1,300 yards already receiving. Handoff, and the Browns go to that power game, Steve. And 2nd and 3. They look to be close to a first down. Let's see where the spot is as we look at the front of the New England Patriots. Chris Jones, he was a real find. Signed off the waiver wire. They claimed him. He's got 5 sacks already. Jamie Collins, the Patriots' number 2 draft choice, 2nd-round draft choice, playing very well, an outside linebacker, a rookie. Keith Talib playing good football, and Devin McCourty having the Patriots feel is a Pro Bowl quality year at safety. 1st and 10 Browns. Patriots blitz. Browns gash it and drive the ball across the 40-yard line. So they're coming out with a power inside run game, Steve.
Well, you knew they would, as the Patriots have struggled to stop the run in the last few weeks. And after getting a first down on 2 straight runs, the Patriots defense wasn't even able to force the Browns into a 3rd down. You know, a 3rd down and those crucial downs is where the Patriots really excel on defense. They're totally, one word that you get is their mantra, situational football. But if the Patriots can't get the Browns into that situation, they may struggle.
On 2nd down, 2nd and 7. Campbell looking deep. Crossing route underneath. Beautifully executed with Greg Little, making his 34th catch of the year. And the Browns drive on. Dante Hightower, outside backer, got him down. But Hightower's had some problems in pass coverage.
Well, you know that the Browns are going to try and find Greg Little, along with Devon Bess, and of course Obanaya out of the backfield. Anything they can do to help Josh Gordon get his numbers. They can't rely on Gordon, not against his Patriots. The Patriots are going to do everything they can to take the best weapon away, so everybody else is going to have to chip in.
Obanaya in the backfield. They play fake to him. Nice strike on the run, thrown by Campbell. Swinging out to make the play is Marquise Gray, one of the tight ends.
You know, one of the matchups we've been talking about and a lot of people want to see is Josh Gordon against Aqib Talib. Both these guys, you know, these great players you see there, that's, you know, lets us know you're going to see that all day. Aqib Talib will press the envelope and do anything he can to make Josh Gordon frustrated. If you can't cover him, make them take themselves out of the game with their own frustration. Aqib Talib is the master at that.
Well, he is. He plays to the echo of the whistle. Here is Campbell on 2nd and 7 with a strike on target to Jordan Cameron. The tight end's 64th catch of the year.
Well, this is exactly what Jason Campbell needs to do. Get the ball out on time, right? just taking off and running to the corner route. And that's a great throw by Campbell. We questioned Jason Campbell at length, Don, about how good he felt coming off, about being his ability to throw those footballs. Of course, Jordan Campbell, the great offensive tight end that he's come to trust. But Campbell, he convinced me. He really felt ready to play. He told us if he would not have been ready, he would have been free to tell the Browns, and they would not have squawked.
I know, he said their head trainer, Joe Sheehan, said, don't lie to me when he coaching every day. On a first down carry, again, inside run. And not a whole lot there as Rob Ninkovich from Purdue makes the stop.
It's been such a point of emphasis for everybody surrounding the NFL about safety issues, and you get a guy like Jason Campbell who's had a concussion and had to miss a game because of it. You know, how much pressure did he feel to come back and play perhaps before he was ready? And he was adamant that, you know what, I was the guy who had to say. I felt I could play, and the doctors cleared me to play. They were very satisfied. But the really final decision was his, and he felt very comfortable. If he would not have wanted to play, the Browns would not have given him an issue with it, and I felt good about that.
Yeah, Judzinski's got to be satisfied, Steve, with his early offense. And the Patriots come up all on the field. And I think they're going to roll it down.
They're calling it a completed pass, and they stopped the play where Josh Gordon was thrown backwards. We'll see. Ninkovich gets him, and the ball comes out. That ball seems like it's out to me, although the whistle was blowing during the ball being loose on the ground.
Patriots fans just saw it on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's Greg Little, not Josh Gordon. You see there, Bill Belichick. He doesn't really want to challenge it, but you know he really can't with the whistle blew while the ball was loose.
So the Browns play another down. It's 3rd and 8. Obanaya. Nothing happening there. All right, Steve, let's take a listen now. Do we hear a whistle?
That was a very quick whistle. That was a very quick whistle, and and you see that. You see Bill Belichick. It was a quick whistle, and I think there was a clear recovery by the Patriots as well. But it's really tough for a coach to throw the challenge flag in that position because A, the play's about to go and you don't get a chance to look at the replay, and B, it's hard to know if it's actually reviewable or not for a head coach in that situation.
Billy Cundiff now to try a 43-yard field goal into the breeze, right on time. He's now hit 17 of 21. Coach Belichick with arguing his case, but the Browns have the lead, and they'll kick off when we come back. We're back to Gillette Stadium. 43-yard field goal by Cundiff, and the Browns have taken an early lead on their first possession, 3-0. Josh Boyce now back for New England to return the kickoff. He had a great kickoff return last week against Houston. This one he won't bring back, 9 yards deep. And here comes the man who leads the way. Now in his 14th season, Tom Brady, quarterback of the Patriots, comes in with 19 touchdown throws, 8 interceptions. Said we'd love to have a game where we didn't have to come from behind, but they've done that the last 2 weeks, Steve.
Yeah, and it's one thing that sets this Patriot team apart under Bill Belichick. If they have an issue that's facing their team, a chronic issue, they don't hesitate. They take drastic measures to fix it. Ask Stephen Ridley how drastic of measures they're willing to take.
Edelman flexes out to the right. Brady stands in. Long ball downfield and just overshoots at the midfield stripe. Rob Gronkowski. Gronk's always a focal point.
Well, Gronkowski's going to come. He's going to be man on man. And T.J. Ward just lets him slip by. If that's a little better than that, would have taken a great throw. But you can see Brady wants to add it. He blames himself for that because that's a throw that was just out of reach. You can think about it. Coming out right off the sideline. First throw of the game is a tough throw down the seam. Brady almost nicks it.
Now Vereen Steve is in the backfield with Brady. Gronkowski's had a touchdown reception in each of the last 4 games. Gronk loses it. 3rd and 10 for the Patriots at their 20-yard line.
And T.J. Ward there once again, man to man. Now he's outside. He was in the slot a moment ago. T.J. Ward was there. Now he's lined up as a wide receiver by himself. T.J. Ward was there again to cover him. You get the feeling those two guys are going to get to know each other this afternoon. Gronkowski with 2 incompletions to start the game. Pretty unusual.
He'll get a lot more thrown his way, though. Brady and the Patriots need 10. Underneath throw. Good defense by the Browns. Shane Vereen with his 29th catch. But it's not enough as T.J. Ward gets him down quickly. And so the Patriots have to punt the ball on their first possession.
I think this has kind of been the modus operandi of the Patriots. They have not started fast of late in their last 4 games, but they have finished very strong, and today's no exception. Of course, today they knew they were in for a battle. This Brown defense is nothing to sneeze at.
Jordan Poyer back for the Browns. Ball well hit downfield, and a fair caught inside the 25-yard line off the foot of rookie Ryan Allen. 53-yard punt, all net yards. Browns 3-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. The new Windows, one experience for everything in your life. And by Ford. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more.
Back to Gillette Stadium. Don Criqui with Steve Tasker, our entire CBS Sports crew. Browns with a 3-0 lead. They had 3 first downs on their first 6 plays. Then ball down, kicked a 43-yard field goal. And now the Patriots looking for that power run game that Cleveland's been employing early in the game.
Tom Brady brooding there, sitting next to Josh McDaniel, the offensive coordinator. Had an interesting talk with McDaniels on Friday. He says, no secret. He said, we played well in games before, particularly early. We have not been able to do it of late, but the one thing about the Patriots, they're a great reacting team. They will make adjustments and play better as the game wears on.
Well, Jasinski says, whatever you do best. Kind of a way to take it away from you. Teeing off and going right at the Patriots. Willis McGahee runs the ball again. Chandler Jones, defensive end with 10.5 sacks already, makes the stop for the Patriots.
Well, the Patriots have struggled to stop the run, and the Browns, no question, are being committed to trying to exploit that weakness. But the Patriots, you know, they've struggled. I mean, you take Vince Wilfork, Gerard Mayo, and Tommy Kelly out of the lineup with injuries as the Patriots have had, and it took them a while to adjust to that.
The turnover factor is enormous. That's what the Browns can't afford against a better team. They can't shorten their possession number. Campbell fires. He's right on target with a beauty to Jordan Cameron. And on third and a long 6, almost 7, he fires down the field for 16 yards.
Well, Jordan Campbell showing what it is. I mean, the Browns have got their own tight end. Cameron has really emerged this season as a real quality pass receiver. No question. You see there, the Patriots light him up at the end of that, but Jordan Cameron getting up really has become the focal point of this offense, particularly in the red zone, but also there on third down.
He's a quality athlete, as you know, Steve. Also played basketball in Southern California as well as tight end. Underneath throw again, and very nicely paced offense. Obadiah coming out of the backfield makes the catch. His 39th of the year. Steve Gregory, one of the Patriots safeties, stopped him.
And one of the things you'll notice about this Brown offense, they're not going to go anywhere near the no-huddle, fast pace that the Patriots are trying to run with Tom Brady. They want to shorten this game, take their time, and make sure that they've got exactly the play they want. No reason to hurry up when they want to be methodical and pound the football at this Patriot defense.
All right, this Patriot defense now standing in on a 2nd and 4, and it might be a false start. Jerome Boger, our referee.
False start. Offense, number 66. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Right guard Sean Laveau called for a false start.
Right here. You can't miss it. Those 300-pounders move like that. Everybody sees it.
Jasinski, the previous 2 years, Steve, of course, was the offensive coordinator at Carolina. He's a Browns fan lifelong from Toledo, Ohio. Played at Miami of Florida. 2nd and 9 after the penalty for the Browns. Obadiah turns it up. Hitting hard into the Patriot defense. Chris Jones, what an acquisition he has been. Rookie defensive tackle from Bowling Green. Drafted by Houston, caught. And now a Patriot is down. It looks like Devin McCourty, one of their best defenders. Back to Gillette Stadium at missing a tackle. Steve, it was Alfonso Dennard who injured his shoulder off the play. Hit down his left shoulder.
Obadiah comes in. It's fairly obvious what happens right there as he hits it, spins around, then he reaches up and grabs that left shoulder and stayed down. And that's, injuries are a part of the game, but the secondary, the Patriots really can't afford to lose a player of the quality of Dennard.
And McCarty, who made the tackle, is up. He's fine. And it is now 3rd down. Browns need 6. Patriot following, kicks in. Campbell steps in, lets the long ball fly, too much on it. Greg Little, who's fast, but not that fast. Browns have to punt, Steve.
Well, they had exactly what they wanted, did the Browns. It was man-to-man coverage at the top of your screen. Little double move, and he pops wide open. And Jason Campbell just overthrows him. That is an absolute missed opportunity by the Browns. Campbell steps up in the pocket, takes the hit right at the end there as you see your guy Jones. Don Criqui, you've been talking about him, and he got to Jason Campbell and forced the overthrow.
Yeah, he's already 5 sacks as a rookie out of Bowling Green. Put in a claim to get him. He's been a starter. They've lost some great defensive linemen to injuries this year. The great Vince Wilfork, Tommy Kelly. Julian Edelman fair catches the ball after a 36-yard punt. Back to Gillette Stadium. Patriots second possession, down to the Browns. 3-0. Backing it straight ahead is the pounder, the 6', 250-pound LeGarrette Blount. Looking at the Patriots on offense, Mankin's a Pro Bowl, All-Pro at times also. Svitek's a new starter at right tackle. Marcus Cannon out. Julian Edelman making plays. Ridley will get looks today. But will the pass catcher Vereen Amendola in and out with injuries, but when he's in, he's good. Here's a driving run straight ahead by Blount. LeGarrette Blount, the 4th-year runner out of Oregon, bangs ahead, and finally a Brown safety. Tayshaun Gibson gets him down. 11-yard gain.
Well, here in the second possession, we told you that the Patriots are very good at feeling out their opponent and making adjustments. The first series, they came out 3 straight passes, 3 straight incompletions. Now 3 straight runs.
Brady under center, good play fake. There's the long ball. Edelman hands on it, but it goes incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Patriots.
Well, he ends up working against Joe Hayden as he comes out, hits the hard post. Brady sees him snap open as they get a hard run fake to the right side of the offense and throw it back long to the left, just overthrown. Twice in the early going, Tom Brady has just missed a big play to his receivers. And you want to know the reasons why the Patriots have started slow. Those 2 plays right there will tell you.
Edelman, Steve, having a terrific year, though. 70 catches in his 5th year out of Kent State.
Alert, alert, alert. Alpha.
Where he was a quarterback. Brady. Ooh, that could be potential grounding. Yeah. It is. Tom Rubin, one of the leaders of this Browns team.
Tom Brady's trying to talk him out of it, but there might have been a running back in the mix there.
There's no intentional grounding on the play. Number 29 was in the area. 3rd down.
And that's the key, because Tom Brady, no question, was in the tackle box. And you'll see as Gronkowski goes in and he throws it there. Well, the running back is up in there. Now, there's no question that he was trying to throw that away to avoid the sack. But the truth of the matter is, because of the way the rules are structured, that's a good no call by the official. They have to make sure there's somebody was an eligible receiver was in there, and he was.
And now in the line of Shane Vereen, a good pass catcher out of the backfield on a 3rd and 10 play. 3:40 to go, 1st quarter. Picked off by the Browns at the 44-yard line. Paul Jackson, their leading tackler, A huge play as Brady is picked for the 9th time this season. So the Browns with the first turnover of the game their way, going offense again when we come back. He really got a deep drop there.
Yeah.
Tom Brady frustrated by throwing that over the middle interception picked off by the captain of the Browns, DeQuell Jackson.
You know, we talked to Brady on Friday. He said these linebackers for the Browns really are rangy. They can run and they get great depth on their drops. And he said those words, and so did Bill Belichick. He said the same thing. Their linebackers really get good depth. Well, they might have said it, but I guess they didn't believe it because DeQuell Jackson dropped deep enough to get under that deep crossing route, trying to fit it into Josh Boyce, and he ran right under the route.
Defensive coordinator for the Browns in this number 4 ranked defense from a yardage allowed standpoint is Ray Horton, very highly regarded. Was a 10-year player as a defensive back with the Bengals and the Cowboys. But he's made a difference.
Officials
looking to check where the spot should be.
Yeah, they had a little.
The ball was put at the wrong beanbag spot. The correct spot is the 44-yard line. First down, Cleveland.
Well, the first beanbag spot was where he caught it. The last beanbag spot was where he ended up.
Turnovers are good for a team if they get the ball, but not any good unless you get points off the turnover. Let's see what the Browns can do against the Patriots. With a 3-0 Cleveland lead on a 43-yard field goal. He straight ahead, right into the teeth of the Patriot defense.
Julian Edelman is going to run right through the middle of the defense to clear it out. Boyce is going to come through, and DeQuell Jackson will drop back and move right underneath the throw that Tom Brady. And watch how far he drops back to pick this up. 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he finally gets back there and undercuts the route. No wonder Tom Brady didn't expect him to be there. That is a deep drop for a linebacker. Jackson really showing his range.
Bill Belichick talked about how much he respects the captain of the Browns and how rangy he is. He showed it there. Campbell, he can motor, and Campbell has a first down. All the way down to the 33 or 2-yard line of the Patriots. Dante Hightower's there. So Coach Chud, as they call him, has to be happy at this point, Steve.
Well, he's pretty happy, but I'll take he's breathing a sigh of relief that Jason Campbell got up without being hurt. I mean, Campbell was out for a week with a concussion. We've already talked about it. You can't afford to lose him either. I mean, they don't want to have to make the change during the game. Campbell's got to be careful, but no question, that's a huge, huge play for the Browns. Chudzinski wanted a penalty.
Well, it was a 21-yard run. That's huge in this game. Biggest play of the game so far. And here now is Fozzie Whitaker weaving his way down to the 27-yard line. Hightower gets him down. So the Browns running a lot of power. Runs up the middle and then moving the ball all over on the outside.
And you talk about how this game is going for the Browns so far, and it points to the thing that has been plaguing New England Patriots: turnovers and slow starts offensively. They moved the ball a little bit on that last drive, but it turned into a turnover, and there Norv Turner, very familiar with this Patriot coaching staff. He's done this before.
They're really doubling up Josh Gordon. No catches yet. And in his wisdom, Jason Campbell nowhere to go, rolls out on the tackle box and throws it away. Campbell's looked good, Steve.
Yeah, he has. He's looked in control of the offense. That was a great play there. 2 plays in a row that were very heady. One, the run that ended with a nice little smack at the end of the slide. And that one, a very smart play to throw that football away and take the incompletion. It keeps them in field goal range, which they're already there. And it sets them up for a 3rd and very manageable 4 yards. Jason Campbell's doing everything he needs to do right now for the Browns at quarterback.
Mark Patricia, the defensive coordinator of the Patriots, looks on. 3rd and 4. Campbell steps in. They're giving him the catch. It's a first down for the Browns. Down to the 21-yard line of the Patriots. Jordan Cameron, whose production in the recent games has not been for a lot of yardage, but today he's really opening up.
Well, he's a good receiver, and he's one-on-one with Gregory, the safety, and anytime you've got a tight end who's as good a receiver as Cameron is, the safety's just not going to be able to match up as well as you'd like.
Now a penalty thrown way back. Yeah, that judge.
Yeah, they've been playing a lot of man, have the Patriots.
12 men on the field. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Well, we talk about the slow starts, and we talk a lot about the offense and how they haven't been able to move it, but now you've got the defense pulling a 12 men on the field penalty.
Slow starts have been a nemesis of the Patriots. In the last 3 games, you look at the numbers in the first half.
And that's not just the offense, that's the defense as well, being minus 41 points in the first half.
Patricia with an engineering degree from RPI. He's a technician as a defensive coordinator. And here is a run. Obadiah in his 5th year from Texas coming in, averaging 5.7 yards a carry. And a good ball catcher. 39 receptions, including 1 today.
Obadiah, great back out of the backfield in the passing game, and also as this Browns team tries to get physical with these Patriots and shorten this game, they're going to let this quarter run out. They don't want to pack in as many plays as they can. They want to be efficient with the possessions they have, and this is a good move by them.
That is the end of the first quarter with the Browns in the lead, 3-0. We'll return to Foxborough after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Quarterback numbers, Jason Campbell winning that battle, but we're early. We're ready now to start the second quarter.
Yeah, that's not something you expect to see from Tom Brady, particularly in this building. They're very comfortable in this weather, this type of game, and of course in this environment with their home fans. They're tough to beat in this building, particularly in December.
So now the Browns 2nd and 3 inside the 15-yard line. Campbell protected. Bobble. Josh Gordon, they're going to give him the catch. His first of the day, his 65th of the year. Guy averaging just a shade under 125 yards a game receiving. Well, best in the NFL.
He's only going to get credit for 1 catch, because you'll see here he catches it, tips it up in the air, and catches it again. And they're going to give him the catch, but now they're waving it off and saying it was an incompletion. There's a catch. I don't know. That looked like a pretty good catch, and it looked like
I'm not going to give it to him. That'll be a catch.
The receiver dropped the ball in the process of making the catch when he went to the ground. 3rd down.
Oh, he went to the ground out of bounds and then dropped it, so you have to keep rolling. No question he has it here. Gets out of bounds 2 feet down. When he goes to the ground out of bounds after plowing through the down marker, he drops it, and the officials are calling that an incompletion. And I used to play wide receiver, and that outrages me. I mean, you got to catch it. He's in bounds, they push him to the ground. He plows through the equipment and loses the ball, and they take the catch away.
In this case, the 12th man was the down marker. That looked like a catch.
Yeah, Jason Campbell's going to take a timeout. He didn't like what he saw.
3rd and 3 coming up. They don't want to have to settle for another field goal.
The plays that are catches and are not catches are so up and down and different across the league that guys like Bill Belichick are really going to have to get that consistency in the officiating.
Got a sports fan on your gift list? Avoid the crowds and get free shipping when you shop this weekend on CBSSports.com. Take advantage of this special offer now at CBSSports.com/holiday.
All the way across the league, you see plays that are reviewed and overturned and not overturned. You see coaches getting calls on Mondays saying the officials should have called it the other way. It's become rampant because it's so difficult to tell one from the other. But now in the red zone, the Browns are at 3rd and 3. They've got to be thinking first down. You may see them take a shot at the end zone, but they've got to get the first down here. They can't settle for 3 points.
They need 3 for the first down. And we'll have a false start signaled against the Browns. It's their second.
False start. Offense, number 84. 5-yard penalty.
Jordan Cameron, the tight end.
right there in the slot is the bunch formation. And that was his movement caused a reaction to get in the neutral zone, and they had to stop the play because of it. But Jordan Campbell, who is a true weapon down in the red zone for the Browns, has really emerged this season as a reliable guy in clutch time down close.
As Rob Chudzinski told us yesterday, Steve, the Patriots have a great red zone defense. Browns in the red zone now. Off target. Browns have to settle for a field goal try. Whitaker was the target, not close.
And that penalty really hurt him, although Jason Campbell was off the mark. Jordan Cameron staying in the backfield, releasing late as a receiver. Campbell felt a little bit of pressure from Ninkovich coming off the front side, but couldn't get that ball on target. Had a chance to complete it. It would have been very close, or it would have taken Whitaker a great run to get the first down, but couldn't complete it.
Here's Cundiff with a 37-yarder. He's hit from 43. And he booms it through, so the Browns extend to a 6-0 lead, and the Patriots, I think, Steve, a win for their defense.
Absolutely. They're very happy to get out of that with a field goal.
With Steve Tasker, this is Don Criqui back at Gillette Stadium. Only scoring so far 2 field goals by Billy Cundiff of the Browns, who was a 2010 All-Pro player for the Ravens. But the Patriots not playing well on offense yet. Playing well on defense, keeping them out of the end zone. Now there's a big special team step. Making the play was Jordan Poyer, 33.
They've had exactly 3 plays have the Patriots for positive yards in this first quarter. Early on, overthrew Gronkowski, then overthrew Edelman, and then came right back and threw the interception to Nickwell Jackson. And then, of course, you know how that made him feel. He is not off to the start he envisioned once again.
But we've seen his finishes over the years. Like last week in Houston. Browns playing a tough run defense. Stephen Ridley, a very good back, but this year he's lost 4 fumbles, and it's cost him a lot of playing time. John Hughes gets him down.
Yeah, the Browns walked the 8th man down into the box, or the 9th man down into the box. They had the Patriots outmanned, and the Patriots had a run play called and couldn't get out of it because of the play clock. And it ended up being a no gain on first down. Crucial for the Browns to be successful on 1st and 2nd so they can get it off the field on 3rd.
Now Vereen is in, the receiving back, and he gets the ball thrown to him. On a 2nd and long play. Shane Vereen is taken down by Nickwell Jackson, but good plus yards, and he advances the ball out close to the 23.
Well, they faked the end around to Edelman, and then Tom Brady bootlegs out, pump fakes once because he couldn't find Vereen.
Now the hammer comes in, LeGarrette Blount. 3rd and 1, he's thrown back. Let's see where the mark is.
Looks like they're going to give him, one guy's giving him the first down, the other one does not look like they got his 2 different spots from both sides of the football field, and they're going to move the chains.
They are indeed. The hammer, LeGarrette Blount, moves the chains for the Patriots. He's had some fumble problems, you know, Steve. He's lost 2 this year.
Well, there's one thing that the Patriots do, and we mentioned it earlier. If they have something that's going on with them, one of the players, they do not hesitate to take drastic measures to fix it. And the running backs are a perfect example of it. You get benched.
Turn in the corner. Stephen Ridley. Now let's check in on the Chiefs and the Redskins as we go to JB and Dan Marino.
Chiefs are handling the snow. Off an RG3 interception, Alex Smith hits a slant pattern, and Dwayne Bowe, he breaks tackles, goes in for a 21-yard touchdown, 17-0 Kansas City. Good to hear the voice again of Don Criqui, along with Steve Tasker.
Well, the Chiefs trying to come out of that 3-game losing streak on a cold, slippery field. Right now, it's 2nd down and 7. Brady stands in, searches out the crossing receiver, and again, hits a moving target in Danny Amendola for a 13-yard gain on a first down.
Well, we talked about DeQuell Jackson having a lot of range as a linebacker, but when you're man-on-man on Amendola, that is a mismatch. And Amendola taking full advantage of it. That was an easy completion for Tom Brady. And now you can sense the Patriot offense taking a deep breath and starting to bear down a little bit.
And they're up to speed now. Steve, they're starting to go to that sped-up offense, which can come at any time. What a beautiful throw and catch. Working the sidelines is James Devlin. And Devlin and Brady connect on a great catch and run for a first down. A 31-yard gain.
Well, working against Barkevius Mingo, great out and up Brady for the 2 overthrows he had early on to Gronkowski and Edelman. That was a perfect throw. Mingo, who's a great athlete, but was a victim of a great route run by a fullback who you wouldn't think is being a nifty route runner, does the perfect out and up from the fullback spot and gets the reception. Devlin make one of the great, all-time great 1-yard runs a week ago in Houston.
Ivy League player from nearby Brown University, Devlin. Here's a throw. Look at Brady. Too much on it though. And Edelman diving for the ball. Can't make the play at the 10-yard line of the Browns.
One thing about it, the Patriot receivers are getting some separation, but Brady's having a hard time putting the ball on him at the early going.
Illegal shift, 2 men moving and not getting set. That penalty has been declined. Second down.
His fingers are cold. He couldn't.
Yeah.
Jerome Boger's having trouble getting the first, second, and third down out of his fingers. It's so cold on the field. But watch, you have 2 guys shift and they don't get reset. There you see Gronkowski got down into his stance as Amendola was, or it was Edelman going across in motion. That's illegal.
And result is 2nd and 10. On the incomplete pass, penalty declined. Heat was coming, and it was coming fast. Barkevius Mingo, the rookie first-round draft choice from LSU. I'll tell you one thing, he comes in a hurry.
Well, he's a great athlete. He's long and lean. You can see there he's kind of a trim build coming off the right tackle. It looks like, yeah, he just absolutely put the speed rush on. And that was no chance. Tom Brady was going to do a little play fake and come out and look downfield, and he didn't get a chance to turn around.
8-yard loss on the play. 2nd and 18. Browns defense steps in. Not much room to work for Shane Vereen.
That was a huge sack because it pushed him out of field goal range. Now they're going to be forced to punt as Allen comes on the field to take punt formation. And that sack put them in this position. And the Browns really looked like they smelled this screen out, but it still looked like they were going to get some yardage out of it, maybe get back into field goal range, if not get the first down. But the Patriots struggling here early.
They are. Devon Bess is back to Pooch punt hit up in the air by the rookie Ryan Allen. Their catch is made at the 12-yard line. So the Browns are standing tall so far in New England with a 6-0 lead. Massachusetts regiment at ready alert, Steve, ready to fire if the Patriots score, but they haven't done it yet. Right now they can't, and the Browns have the ball. First down and 10 with a 6-0 Cleveland lead. McGahee. With the playoff races heating up, download NFL Mobile to get live video access to exclusive premium content on your smartphone. Call ** NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile to learn more. Message and data rates may apply. 9:49 to go in the first half. The Cleveland Browns coming in with a 4-8 record under their first-year coach, Rob Chudzinski, who is a very upbeat guy, and I would predict, Steve, he's going to be around for quite a while.
Yeah, they've got some continuity in a good direction in their building.
Swing pass, nicely executed. Obanaya, some of these passes, sharp target throws by Jason Campbell, and one of the reasons that 9 years ago he was the first-round draft choice of the Redskins out of Auburn.
Yeah, that's right. He's got a strong arm, and he's a good athlete, as we've seen already today on the 21-yard run he had earlier. And plus, these throws are on the money. He's had a couple that were not, but his arm is plenty strong enough to still be playing at a high level in the NFL. Just the kind of guy Chudzinski needs to run this offense, and happy he's back and healthy and in the lineup.
The Browns are going after outside backer Dante Hightower in coverage. From there, Ninkovich, always active. Maybe the most underrated defensive lineman in the NFL, Rob Ninkovich.
Lobaniah takes a little lead draw and tries to get up inside, and Seelinga does a nice job of balling everything up and squeezing down, so Ninkovich has no space for the running back to avoid him. They ball that up inside. Ninkovich makes the tackle for no gain. Great team defense inside by the Patriots.
Yeah, their defense really ramping up. Julian Edelman's back now for the Patriots. Hunt hit downfield by Spencer Lanning. Fair catch at the 33. Tom Brady and the Patriot offense ready to go to work again. They can make something happen fast. We'll see. Back to New England. Tom Brady so far 4 of 11 throwing the ball for 56 yards. Now he goes first and 10. From his 32, down 6-0. Well, I tell you, the Browns, they get pushed. They come out of there 3 points.
They're getting quick pressure, and you talk about Brady. You know that he's got to be absolutely revered inside the building here at Patriot Place. But I'll tell you what, one reason he is because he's not afraid to take criticism. It's a practice of Bill Belichick, the head coach, to show practice films to the whole team and not the good plays. I mean, he coaches guys hard about what they're doing wrong, and always, every morning, Tom Brady will tell us, Brady's the first guy on the list to get coached hard.
He doesn't mind it. He's all about the team and winning. They all are here. That's why they win all the time. Boyce making the catch on a 15-yard play. With some really nice throws in this game.
Well, they know they're up against a good defense, and it's taken them a little while to get going, and this defense playing tough. But Bill Belichick, I mean, he coaches them all, and you know that when you start with Tom Brady and your criticism every morning, nobody else in the room thinks they're getting off the hook. And Brady himself embraces it.
Alert! 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 52!
Practice, I mean, training camp, everybody runs if somebody commits a 5-yard foul. Brady leads the way in the run around the field and Ridley runs.
Well, there's the relationship. That's a lot of games that these guys have played and coached together. I mean, that's the relationship, and there's a lot of playoff games and all of that, passing TDs. But that's why Brady is such a good leader and why they've won so many games. He subjects himself to the hard stuff so that the rest of the team has to join him in it, and they get better because of it.
Josh Boyce, the rookie from TCU, drops the ball. Well, Brady has said publicly, unless you play here, you don't know how much pressure there is on you to win. And he added, people love playing here.
Well, because everybody's in it. I mean, Josh Boyce is going to hear about that with no question. You've got to make plays like that. Brings up a 3rd and 10. But so much success has come to this organization with so many different players, so many different teams, and so many different years. They do something different than other people do.
3rd and 11, the Patriots have had 5 drops in this game. Browns send a lot of people, and receiver falls down over the middle. Amendola looking for a flag. There's none in the air, and the Patriots send out their special teams to punt.
He was trying to get the ball to Amendola right there in the motion. He's going to come underneath, and he just gets jacked. That's Buster Screen, who just pushes him and knocks him to the ground, and that could have been illegal contact easily, and the Browns got away with one. They're going to push the envelope physically. They know they've got to do that in the back end to make it work.
Browns with a big punt rush. Jordan Poyer fair catching the ball for the Browns. At the 12-yard line, a 43-yard punt, all net, no return. Josh Gordon, Cleveland Browns, 2nd year from Baylor, having really an all-pro season.
Those are historic numbers.
First receiver in NFL history to have over 200 yards receiving in back-to-back games.
And now today, you look at these numbers. That's unbelievable. This number is absolutely unbelievable per game throughout the entire season. Of course, he had almost 500 yards in the last 2 games combined. But today, completely shut out. Had the one catch that was taken away when he crashed into the first down marker. But you know the Patriots know everything about him that they could find out.
Gordon had 10 catches for 261 in a loss to Jacksonville last week. Here's a throw. Beautifully timed as Fozzie Whitaker, first year back out of Texas, swings out of the backfield, and again, great accuracy by Jason Campbell.
Yeah, Fozzie Whitaker spent the preseason with the San Diego Chargers, so he's been with the quarterback out with Phillip Rivers, who knows how to put the ball on target. Exactly why the Browns liked him is his ability to catch the football. He's a good athlete, and Campbell right on target, setting the Browns up with a 3rd and 1. Interesting it'll be to see if they want to pound this at the Patriots or try and finesse and throw it over the top for the first down.
Looks like they're going to run power. They do. Patriots looking for it. And the takedown is short of the marker.
I think he spun around and got it. Willis McGahee pounding through the second effort. Now, they had just got shut down on a 3rd and short last series that forced the punt. And this time they hand it to McGahee, and watch how long it takes him to wiggle around and squeak out of that pile for the first down.
With a spot, is he?
Now they're giving him a spot. Now it's going to be close. They're going to measure this, but it took forever. You see there, he reaches for it. It's a good read. That makes it look like he certainly got it, but that was from the end zone, so it'll be difficult. It might be a time for Chudzinski to challenge. And I would almost take the challenge flag and try that, because it's so close and it's so crucial at this moment to keep the football away from Tom Brady. Don't let him find his rhythm, and I thought he got it.
Well, they're going to send the punt team out. I mean, if you miss, though, you got Brady with a first down at your inside your 25.
Look, he had to get to 42, and he's well past it right there. That looks like a good one. We saw from the other angle that his body was off the ground when he extended. There you go. That's a great challenge by Chudzinski, because I think they're going to win this. All you need is an inch.
Just short of the 22-yard line. That's where the first down marker is. So Coach Chud, 13th game as an NFL head coach.
It's charged in the rule of the field that the runner was down short of the line to gain.
Bill Belichick in his 227th head coaching appearance.
You'll see as we come back to this replay, as Willis McGahee extends the football, it's up above the top of his head, and where his backside hits on the ground, the ball is up here. This down here is the line to gain. So it looks from that angle like he very much got that first down. And we see from a different angle that indeed his backside is the first thing that hits as he comes to the ground. And the two angles together will show you that it looks from this, and you'll see he's not down until that point right there, and the ball is above his head up here past the line.
The ball carrier was down at the 22.5-yard line, therefore making the line to gain. It'll be Cleveland's ball, first down at 10.
Here you go, Steve.
At the 22.5. Cleveland is not charged a timeout.
That was a great challenge by the Cleveland coaching staff, and that happens so fast, but I think it's a nod to how critical every possession is for the Browns at this point. They've had so many problems and such a rotating lineup at quarterback. Tough to get any continuity in their offense. Every possession is enormous for this Cleveland team, particularly on the road against a team like the Patriots. Great job by Don. Great job by Chudzinski and the way they run their challenge.
Gets the first down in a game where the Browns, an underdog, leading by a 6-0 count on 2 Cundiff field goals from 43 and 27 yards. For the Browns now, with time becoming a factor in the first half, 5:04 to play in it. Long ball on the way. He's out there. And there is the big play by Josh Gordon as finally he goes up between a double team and comes down with a 19-yard gain and a first down.
Well, this was a good catch, but I think it was an even better throw. Talib undercuts the route, and Campbell puts this ball just over his tip, his outreach finger. It almost looked like Talib even still got a piece of it. Oh, and he just fit it in. Gordon keeping his concentration. McCourty coming in to finish up on the tackle. Great reception.
Talib tipped his hand that he was going to get a lot of attention. He said a lot of teams have treated him like a regular guy.
And he's not a regular guy.
That's what Talib said. He certainly is not. Here's another long ball. And wow. Greg Little comes up and down with the ball. Ryan Logan defending on the play.
Oh, he came down with the ball, but his foot came down out of bounds. What a great leaping reception by Little. Watch as he goes up over the top and comes down right on the line. Wow. That, I'll tell you though, even though that's an incompletion, it's like a long foul ball working there against Ryan, that gives an offense confidence. And he's going to have confidence that his guys can go up and make plays over the top of these defensive backs. And the Patriots are going to be looking at each other saying, we got to do something different.
Timeout. Cleveland also gives the defense concern, Steve, because they know they're going to see it again.
Oh, yeah, that's not the last long ball you're going to see from Jason Campbell.
Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB and company for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. The Patriots lock up a playoff spot if they come back again from behind today and win, and either Miami or Baltimore loses.
Yeah, with 4:16 left in the first half, the Browns are kind of stuck right here at midfield. There's no question they want to push this in for a touchdown, but they also would love to do that in 4 minutes and 16 seconds. They don't want to give the Patriots the football back. They'd love to get a touchdown with as much time off the clock in this first half as they possibly can. The touchdown's the most important thing, obviously, but they would love to do it in 4 minutes.
2nd and 10 after a near big hit by the Browns offense to Little. Hit ball. Incomplete. Jamie Collins, the rookie outside linebacker. He was really great in that game against Denver. Jamie Collins in the comeback win here over the Broncos.
Yeah, watch as Alex Mack, the center, goes out, and he's going to see this ball tipped. Watch, Mack will come out. The ball's tipped by Collins as Collins is shadowing Jason Campbell in his eyes, and Mack knocks that ball away because it was going to get picked off if he didn't. Great job by the center.
3rd and 10. Terrific open field stop on Josh Gordon. Aqib Talib, the guy who said they treat him like a regular guy, we won't because he's not a regular guy. But Josh Gordon.
Right there, you see the physical. Josh Gordon really getting physical with Talib, and Talib coming up and giving it back to him. And those two guys have got a few words to say to each other, both with their play and their voices.
Talib's family, Cleveland Brown fans. He was born in Cleveland. Aqib Talib went to Kansas. The punt by the Browns. Boom downfield to Edelman. Spin on that. Threw it back. Patriots get the ball, but inside their 5, a 50-yard punt. Tomorrow on CBS, Melissa McCarthy and Billy Gardell star in a new episode of the hit comedy Mike and Molly. That's tomorrow at 9, 8 Central, only CBS.
3:23, an eternity for the New England Patriots. They've got their timeouts left, and they've been here before. Unfortunately for the Patriots, they've been here a lot in the last couple of weeks.
These Brown corners, Steve, they've stopped a lot of stuff from getting thrown their way. Hayden and Screen. Patriots bust around. Big look here at points. hit conversation. A 13-yard gain on the play, Steve.
Well, he's going to come right off the right side and find his hole right over the right guard, right tackle. As he bounces it outside. Cleveland's defensive front kind of jumping inside to stop it and get gashed as he bounces it out.
The pitch. One again. LeGarrette Blount, who is a pounder, crashes into the Brown defense again for plus yards. He got 5.
Billy Wynn thought he got held at the point of attack by Wendell. No call. Right over here, coming right up. Billy Wynn thinks he can get there, but Blount outruns him to the edge.
Rookie Leon McFadden on the stop. Cleveland. Blount again. That could take us down to the 2-minute warning here at Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, those guys down inside for Cleveland. I mean, it's not all about linebackers and corners. Phil Taylor down inside. Those guys are big and heavy, and they're doing a good job inside.
Browns continue to lead on 2 field goals. Back at Gillette Stadium, Don Criqui with Steve Tasker. The Patriots are shut out so far on their home field against the Browns. 6-0 Cleveland lead. 2 minutes to play in the half. Brady 5 of 15 throwing, 1 interception. Here's an on-target throw to Danny Amendola coming underneath. Gain of 12, Steve.
Coming inside, running right behind the clear-out route by Boyce. He takes an inside stem, inside Boyce, and then breaks to the sideline behind him, and it's tough to get out there underneath that for a defender as they cross twice on that route.
Brady again, patiently awaits something to come open. It does underneath again. This is Boyce. Dancing smartly out of bounds, the rookie from TCU. Another first down for the Patriots.
So the Patriots have been patient with these young receivers, Boyce and Kenbrell Tompkins, getting some time during the injury time. Watch this move. Whoop. Wow. Screen tried to get the kick save, couldn't get it done. And Boyce gets to the post.
Over. 43 hard.
Shane Vereen. Jordan Poyer on the stop.
And this is with 1:35 and counting. Brady going no huddle. They know they've got a full complement of timeouts.
And they do indeed. They have all 3. Browns down to 1 timeout left. Into his ball. Gronkowski was the target, but a Brown looming very close to a pick.
TJ Ward had Gronkowski with both hands, both had the jersey pulled away. He was not letting Gronkowski go. They were tied up at the top of that route. They've got to get to about the 38-yard line for a long field goal attempt. Now, Gostowski's as good a kicker as there is in the league, but these conditions aren't conducive to long ones.
He hit 2 in the 4th quarter last week at Houston. 2 53-yarders. Another one in the decider. Trey's not fast, but he is elusive. And unhappy he missed an open guy in Amendola.
Yeah, he took a shot from behind. He could feel the pressure chasing him, and that ball went incomplete, and Brady screamed with frustration as he came up after he rolled over. You'll see as he gets hit right there, he'll come up and give out a scream as that ball comes out. He doesn't like what Amendola did. He's expecting him to do something else. Right there, as you see Amendola trying to find a spot, he's bracketed by the 2 linebackers.
Devon Bess is back now for the Browns. Hits at the 21, makes a big Patriot roll. And it's down to about the 8-yard line, so the Brown defense continues to make plays.
Huge confidence builder on that series for the Browns defense, keeping Brady out of the end zone.
Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JV and Company for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report.
And both these staffs, when this game began, both the staffs, for the Browns, they're watching the Patriots, and the Patriots are watching the Browns at halftime. Both these staffs are going to make huge adjustments, and early in the second half, we're going to get an idea of what each side of the football thought about what the other was doing against them. And adjustments are going to be crucial for the second half going forward.
Wow. Brown's ready to run the ball with a 1:06 to play in the half. McGahee, both arms on it. 4 times a 1,000-yard plus rusher in his NFL career, 11 years now into the league. Miami of Florida product.
And now the Patriots know how crucial every possession is, and Bill Belichick takes a quick timeout in hopes of giving a quick, just a few seconds anyway, at least one opportunity for Brady to come get something done in this first half. The Browns won't be able to run the clock out with New England in their 3 timeouts unless they get a first down.
Next up is a 2nd and 8 play.
Well, the Browns can't afford to just go conservative and hope to run the clock out and not really strive for a first down, because they know they'll have to punt the football back to the Patriots.
Patriots only with 130 yards, Steve, in total offense in the first half. They sometimes get that with ease in a quarter. Obaniah, power back, good numbers this season. He's caught 39, and he's also averaged 5.7 a rush. Chandler Jones getting his name called for the first time. He's been an effective guy, 95 out of Syracuse. 10.5 sacks coming in.
Yeah, and he's been a great find for the Patriots as Bill Belichick takes another quick timeout. That last play, 4 seconds, is all the Cleveland Browns get out of it. Brings up a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4.5. Actually a manageable down for Jason Campbell, but it does force them to put the ball in the air. Now, that, if they can complete it, even if they don't get the first down, it'll force the Patriots to use that last time out. Belichick would love to give Tom Brady and that offense the ball back with at least one of those in their pocket to try and get into field goal range.
So far, Gronkowski and the Patriots offense is out, has not been a factor. Gotta have a conservative throw, not turn it over. What a catch! Josh Gordon coming across, catching it knee high.
And now things
change.
Now things change a little bit. Josh Gordon catches this on the crossing route, and Talib told us as well, as you see him chasing Gordon across the field, one thing that's crushed defenses against the Browns is their ability to catch balls like this, short passes, and then have Josh Gordon turn up the field and outrun people for big gains. Now things change, because now the Browns are thinking, hey, we may get out of this with some points instead of just running the clock out.
Well, let's see. Catch and run, good for 18 yards on last play. Campbell checks down. Goes to Fozzie Whitaker. And Steve Gregory's on him quickly.
And now Cleveland takes the timeout.
They do indeed, and they continue to hold a 6-0 lead.
Okay.
We're back. You see the target line for Billy Cundiff. He's had some long balls. 2 or 3 from 50 plus this year. He's accounted for all the points in this game so far. Campbell throws it to an assistant coach on the sideline, and it stops the clock with 34 seconds to play.
He got out of the tackle box, which allowed him to do that, and he threw it far enough down the football field to get it past the line of scrimmage.
Prior to the pass being thrown, holding, defense number 31, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And this was a good call, because I think Josh Gordon was going to snap open down the pipe, and Talib right up here. And you'll see, or no, he's down inside, down on the slot right there, and you'll see right there they get tripped up, and Campbell was looking right at him, trying to get him the football, and they got tangled up.
Patriots in that deep cover 2 defense. Safety's way back. Backpedaling at the snap. That'll bring up 2nd and 10. Whitaker was the target.
Yeah, and things have changed very quickly here in this game as this half comes to a close. It was the New England Patriots trying to use timeout to save time. Now it's the Cleveland Browns who want to extend this half and get a chance to get down inside field goal range. They've got another 20 yards to go before they can really try a long one, although if it's the last play of the half, why not try one from 60? That would make it about 18 yards.
Campbell playing within himself, looking for an open receiver, not risking the turnover. Oh, this goes to the wrong side of Devon Bess. And it's 3rd and 10.
Now, this is the kind of place where you really have to do it exactly right. This is not the Browns can't get caught up thinking this is bonus. They got to make the most of every possession, and possessions like this could be a difference. They could come away with points, and that Devon Bess needs to turn all the way around and get both hands on that football. And Jason Campbell needs to make a better throw.
Well, let's see what kind of a throw he makes on 3rd down and 10. Line the game for the first down is the 49-yard line of the Patriots. Here comes the heat. Long ball. Incomplete. So with 20 seconds left, the punt unit comes out for Cleveland. This day, Steve, Josh Gordon has become the all-time yardage receiving leader for a single season by a Brown.
Now you look at the top, trying to fit the football. That's good cover. That's a high throw. As Timms couldn't reach up and get that one. He had to be 8 feet tall to grab that one.
Edelman is back. Landing punts. Terrific special teams play. Coming down was Batamosi to make the stop. Thursday on CBS, Academy Award winner Robin Williams and Sarah Michelle Gellar star in a new episode of The Crazy Ones. Thursday at 9, 8 Central, only CBS. Robin Williams, a drive-by fruiting from his Doubtfire.
And the Patriots are going to call it quits on this half.
And that was it. So the Patriot fans aren't happy, and the Patriots are less happy as the Cleveland Browns go to the locker room with a 6-0 lead.
Well, as poorly as Tom Brady and the offense played, they're only down 6 points. They've been down 24 points in the last few weeks and came back and won.
We'll be back with the Horizon Halftime Report. After this message and a word from your local station, you're watching the NFL on CBS. 6-0 at the half. And it's the Cleveland Browns on top of the New England Patriots. The Pats with another slow start. Football like you've never seen it before. The sound and the fury is football like you've never seen it before, presented by Sonos.
Well,
Bill Belichick got his team out. Will be interesting to see what his adjustments are, Steve, as the New England Patriots have scored in the last 4 games in the first half, a total of 10 points. The last 4 first halves.
Yeah, and you can see their passing yards only 87 for the Patriots, 125 for the Browns. You know, the turnovers were huge, and also a quick whistle that took a turnover, what might have been a turnover by the Browns, and put it into an incomplete pass. And the time of possession is exactly where the Cleveland Browns want it to be, almost double, 19 minutes for the Browns.
Well, Norv Turner, the Browns offensive coordinator, he came in with a straight-ahead power run game, and then they took their chances, but the overall ball management demonstrated by Jason Campbell, very effective, 14 of 23, 125 yards, and no turnover.
Well, you look at the top 2 receivers for the Patriots, Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. Between them, they've had 5 targets. They have 0 receptions in the first half.
Right now, Cundiff kicks off. Touchback. Josh Boyce. Week 12 versus Denver. Tom Brady threw 3 touchdown passes in the second half, to 2 to Julian Edelman. Patriots rallied from 24 points down to win in overtime on Gostkowski's 41-yard field goal last week at Houston. Then once more, Brady to Vereen was part of a 27-point second half. Gostkowski's second 53-yard field goal of the 4th quarter won it. What will the Patriots do today? good all of a sudden, Steve. Gronkowski right in business.
And already the Browns blew their first coverage of the second half as they left Rob Gronkowski running. You watch as McFadden comes out. They switch and they don't switch. McFadden's way off. The two defenders underneath doubled the underneath receiver, let Gronkowski go. McFadden, who was supposed to be the deep help, ended up having to make the tackle.
180! 180! 52's the mic. Hey, 180! Hey, hot!
So 52's the Mike, middle linebacker. Watkins came off of that. Blunt runs, not for penalty. Knockers down in the Patriot backfield.
Now some pushing and shoving going on as well.
Holding. Offense. Number 62. 10-yard
Wendell, the center.
Repeat. First down.
So that can be a drive killer, as you know, Steve, getting set back on a major penalty on a hold.
You see at the top is really a nice job by Blunt getting to the outside and bouncing to the outside. And then, of course, Blunt gets up and flips the football.
Taylor
right
arrives
at one of the big guys. Yeah, he doesn't like that.
That's a big guy, too. It's like 380. So now it's first down and 20 for the New England Patriots, down 6-0 as this is the opening drive of the second half. Brady. Again, the pressure gets to him. Jamal Sheard. Glenn Cleveland sacks the last 2 seasons, has 3 and now 4.5 this year.
Well, Solder just gets beat with a speed rush as Tom Brady takes a 7-step drop. Solder thinks Brady's going to stop a little shorter and maybe run Sheard by him. But Sheard runs right into the back of Brady. That was a fast sack off the left side, and Solder just got beat.
Browns came in with only 32 sacks, a medium number, but 13 different guys have had sacks. Edelman takes the ball out across the 20-yard line. TJ Watt stops him, but it's an 8-yard gain.
Still an 8-yard gain. It brings up a 3rd and 20. Certainly not. Once again, the Patriots coming out in the holding penalty and the sack, putting them in a big hole. They have not been sharp offensively yet today.
It can change fast. We'll see if it does. Patriots with only 10 first-half points over the last 4 games. Now into the third quarter. They set up the blockers in a terrific-looking screenplay with Shane Vereen carrying. But it's not enough.
Well, as good as the Browns defense has played, the Patriot offense is going to come off the field and look at a holding penalty and a sack they gave up, although it was a good sack by Sheard. And that was, the Patriots are still, I think, pointing the finger at themselves, not executing their game plan well enough. And they're not executing against a really good, stout defensive front. They can't run the football consistently, and their passing game has deserted them.
It has, at least so far. A long way to go. Here's the punt hit downfield. Coming up on it, Jordan Poyer. Living dangerously. Special teams coverage, sweeps him under. Led by Michael Buchanan. Back to Gillette Stadium. Browns with their another good stand by their defense. Their defense has not given up 100 yards to a rusher. As we look at the most receiving yards, they're Gordon today, number 12, becoming the Browns' all-time single-season receiving leader from a yardage standpoint. Campbell, big arm, looking for a place to unload it. I think Norv Turner's really worked with him about if it's not there, throw it away.
Yeah, in a tight game, you can't afford to turn the football over and make something out of nothing. Then Campbell, with his athleticism, we saw him take off on a 21-yard run in the first half. And that's a Patriot defensive front meeting right where he's standing. He gets rid of it. You see, there's Norv Turner on the left with his hand to his forehead, kind of trying to rub the pain away, I guess, from having to go for that incompletion.
Well, it's a temporary pain. They got 2nd and 10 coming up, but they're probably going to run. We'll see. They do. That's what the Patriots were looking for, as Willis McGahee is stopped for a short gain. Tom Brady's word, Steve, coming back. He love to have a game where they didn't have to come from behind.
Well, it's not going to happen today. In the second half, down 6 points, haven't been able to generate any offensive punch. Their defense, though, and their offense as well, it's been their story. Even in these slow starts, when they've struggled, they have been able to make adjustments and find something that worked. Not in their first series where they had a penalty and a sack and came up 3rd and 20. And we'll see what happens with their defense here. This is situational football we hear so much about from the Patriots. 3rd and 8.
Right now, the Patriots will be hunting the football, looking for a turnover. And the Browns use a timeout. The AFC playoff picture. Right now, the Broncos and the Patriots running 1-2 at the top of it. Patriots can lock up a spot today. If they win this game, if they come from behind again to win, and if Miami or Baltimore loses.
Both those teams, Miami and Baltimore, are leading in their respective games. And, of course, New England, as we see here and been talking about, they're down in this one. So it could not be going worse for the Patriots to clinch a playoff spot today.
And next 2 games for the Patriots at Miami and at Baltimore. On 3rd down, Campbell and the Browns need 8. Beautifully executed, and the spot's going to give them the first down. Terrific 12-yard play. Boy, that's big league stuff.
Well, Best is going to come in, fake the crossing route, and then break to the sideline, being guarded by Arrington. Best, he couldn't keep his feet, but he did get the first down. Great in and out move, and once again you see the receivers offensively crossing and then recrossing with motion in the stem of their routes.
Campbell on target. Jordan Cameron with a wide open look at the ball, and he takes it in. Big gainer in the first down. He gained 21.
Well, we spoke to the Patriots. Bill Belichick acknowledged that Norv Turner, who has been a head coach in a championship game in this building when he was the head coach of the San Diego Chargers, they are very familiar with him and have great respect for his ability to adjust as the game goes on.
Browns mounting a lot of challenges. No touchdowns yet. 2 field goals. There's a penalty marker down as heading towards the end zone is Gary Harnett.
There was an obvious collision in the secondary. It's going to be really interesting to see what the call is, because there's no question something happened well down the field in the secondary.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Defense, number 31. That penalty is declined. Result of the play.
Touchdown.
Aqib Talib, somewhere in the secondary, put his hands to the face. Josh Gordon stood up and was calling for the penalty. This is Barnage right here. Watches this happen right at the top there. If you just screen, you see, yeah, Talib just pulls Gordon to the ground, and Barnage on the short pass catches it, and that leaves McCourty in chase, not able to get there. And a long, unexpected out-of-the-blue touchdown for the Cleveland Browns on a play that looked like it came apart.
Barnes, just 6th-year tight end, with his big moment, a 40-yard touchdown play.
And now the Browns, looking at the scoreboard, trying to go up by 14, 2 full touchdowns instead of 13. Going for 2.
Tried power up the middle. Patriots were all over it. A lot of hitters.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Bank of America. And by Kelley Blue Book. Everything you need to make a smart new car decision is at kbb.com.
Rob Chudzinski, first-year head coach, and the book says go for 2 when you have a 12-0 lead.
Yeah, and it also says you need to get it.
Another touchback. So there is in the middle Bob Kraft, the chairman and owner of the Patriots. To his left, our right, is the president of the Patriots, Jonathan Kraft.
We had the pleasure of Robert Kraft coming out and spending a few minutes with us on Friday talking about some of the amazing things that have happened to this franchise since he took ownership. And if you look at what's happened, man, it's unbelievable what this organization was like before he owned it and what has happened to it since.
David Ridley up the middle. Can the greatness of Tom Brady be displayed again here today? As this is a come-from-behind ball club right now.
Well, and you got to know that 12 points is nothing for this Patriot offense. I mean, they've been behind worse than this in the last couple of weeks, as we've been talking about. And this Brown defense, though, has got to know they don't have to change too much to be a stout defense. Some minor adjustments is all they're looking at.
Straight ahead, Ridley, both arms on the ball, stopped by DeQuell Jackson, the leading tackler for the Browns, and the guy who had an interception earlier today.
And this is something, obviously, as soon as the they come out, they had a hard time in that first series, but now they come out on the second series and they are handing it off on power running plays. They're not running the stretch plays in this series. They are handing it off. The linemen are pulling around. It's a downhill run game.
Straight ahead, inside power. Man, there's some sticks going on out there. Ridley again. Not much. Got a couple out to the 35-yard line again. DeQuell Jackson on the stop.
Stephen Ridley back in the game. I mean, it's highly publicized how Bill Belichick benched him and actually deactivated, didn't even allow him to dress last week after fumbling problems in a couple of straight games. Now back in the field. Here, key possession in the second half.
See what the key to this 2nd and 8 play is. More heat on Brady, gets it away. Comes in a little lighthearted. Here's a penalty marker now. They're going to have an interference call on the defense. First down, Patriots.
Yeah, Gronkowski working against T.J. Ward. He kind of used his body position.
Defense, number 43. Spot the foul, automatic. First down.
At first glance, it didn't even look like T.J. Ward was trying to hit him. He was kind of trying to avoid it, and Gronkowski kind of moved into it and wouldn't let him avoid the collision at the end of this play. Gronkowski had inside position. Ward caught trying to decide whether to defend the pass or defend Gronkowski.
53 tonight. What do you got?
53 right there. 52.
Short. What do you need? Wait, hot.
Brady timing throw. Gronk down to the 32-yard line. And Gronkowski shaken up.
And now they're going to say that was a catch. The ball came out immediately, and Gronkowski, and the tackle came in very low, and Gronkowski is hurt, as you can see there by the look on his face.
T.J. Ward came up on him.
Gronkowski runs right by Jackson, who had the interception in the first half.
Man,
right there, that's the hit.
Look at the fucking replay.
And his knee is right there. Looks like his right knee got hit first. The ball. Now they gave him the reception, although nobody really cares at this point. He gets hit, and then that's the NFL. When you got these safeties who would come in normally high and try and knock the pass away, have been coached and told not to come in high because they'll get a penalty, and now you have stuff like this happen. It's tragic.
So while Gronkowski's attended to, and it doesn't look good right now, we'll take this break.
As you see Gronkowski back here in New England being helped onto the cart that's coming to take him off the field, was hit kind of a high-low by the Cleveland secondary after making a reception, and it was a pretty gruesome hit. And I got to tell you, it's as tragic as it is. T.J. Ward comes in, and it's a clean hit. I mean, and that's the new NFL, it's the atmosphere these defensive backs are living in. They can't go in high and lead with the crown of their head like they were in the old days and try and knock the guy apart from the football. And as a response to that, they've started to have to go in low and knock them off their feet immediately. And in this case, Ward does that, and it costs a good player what looks to be a pretty serious injury.
One of the great players in the game going off for a standing ovation, but now we'll have to wait. And we're going to watch the hit again. There's no penalty on it. We use the term low bridge, Steve. Yeah. Back to live action now. Here's Brady. Gets away. It's going to be real incomplete forward pass. Shuffle the ball forward.
He moved to a fumble, and Tom Brady can't believe it. He tried to shovel pass it. It looked like a forward pass, although it was a two-hand chest pass. And it came loose, and the Browns were all over it. He did it in the pocket. The pocket was collapsing, and Brady trying to salvage something on the play after being so frustrated all day. You see him pull it back. He'll move up, and the ball comes loose. That is a fumble. He tried to pull it back to throw it, and it came loose, and the Browns came up with it. That's a turnover.
Paul Kruger put the heat on, and John Hughes recovered the fumble. So a second Brady turnover today. Once earlier an interception, and now the Browns with that lead. 12-0. Take over the ball at their 33-yard line. And one of the NFL's best has just gone off on a cart with an injured knee. Rob Gontrowski.
And we've seen that all too much this season. Tom Brady frustrated on the side. What a sequence of plays for the Patriots.
Lost yardage on the play, lost about 3 with Jamie Collins coming in from the outside linebacker position.
And now as the defense standing on the sideline watching one of their comrades, Rob Gronkowski, taken off the field, and their quarterback now being frustrated offensively. This defense of the Patriots, you can tell by their body language, they're fired up to get some of their own back. The Cleveland Browns coming out trying to put this game further out of reach. The Patriot defense fired up to stop them.
Campbell drops the ball, dropped by Whitaker. Cameron was running wide open on that play.
Yeah, Campbell missed him. Watches Cameron comes up right there, wide open on the sidelines. Fit that pass in there. What looks to be an easy throw. Campbell, as he stepped up, decided to take the short route.
So now, 3rd down and 2. The Browns at their 31-yard line. Excuse me, 3rd down and 12 at the 32. Screen. It works. Obanaya crosses the 40 and rushes out close to the 43-yard line. The line to gain for the first down. He got it.
Yeah, Jason Campbell has been working the short passes a lot. Now, the reason they can do that is because early on in the game, they nicked the Browns and were very close on a couple of other plays with some deep balls. They had shown no reticence not to throw the ball deep, so the Patriots have to honor that, and when they have, Campbell has hurt them underneath.
And there the Browns getting some great blocking, particularly from Joe Thomas, the left tackle. Whitaker again getting a lot of looks today. A first-year player from Texas. Brandon Spikes, the middle backer, hit him.
Both these clubs kind of using running back by committee. Well publicized. The Patriots do that, but now the Browns with McGahee and Fozzie Whitaker and Obanaya doing the same thing on their side of the football. And Willis McGahee, the workhorse in the running game.
Long ball could be coming. He checks down. Nothing open. Safety's way back for the Patriots.
Josh Gordon, who's been a little bit forgotten. You see at the top of your screen working against Talib, gets him running. The deep route comes across, and yeah, he's clapping for the football. He knows he got Talib on that one, but the ball wasn't there. That's why so many great receivers get frustrated when they want to help and contribute, sometimes the quarterback just can't see them.
Big down now, 3rd down and 5. The money down comes out for the Browns. And a timeout is called. 5:36 to play in the 3rd quarter, and the Browns have extended to a 12-0 lead. We're back with a 3rd down and 5 coming up for the Browns. A surprise 12-0 leader in the 3rd quarter at New England. Broken up. Devon Bess going for the ball. And Kyle Arrington was the defender for the Patriots.
And that drive, although it didn't result in points, was still pretty effective for the Browns. They got the ball on the fumble by Brady, moved the ball, got a couple of first downs. Now with this ball right at midfield, they'll be able to flip the field and give Brady another very long field position. Huge always in close games, and the Browns with a 12-point lead.
End over and punt. Julian Edelman back, waiting for it. And Edelman sprints out of bounds with a plus return.
Here you go.
42-yard punt, a 7-yard return, and a 12-0 score, Cleveland. Don Crickey with Steve Tasker back at Gillette Stadium. Patriots down on their home field, 12-0. Brady looks. Driving extension to the ball by Edelman. Right now they're giving him a catch. 8-yard gain.
Yeah, the ball was moving around. Don't know that it ever hit the ground. It's hard to see from here. Certainly the Browns defenders didn't think they did, but it did. And yeah, it did. It did. Chudzinski threw the flag very quickly to challenge this, and he's going to win again his 2nd challenge of the day. The first one was on a spot. This one, he's going to win as well. It was an incomplete pass.
Cleveland is challenging the rule on the play of a completed catch.
And I'll tell you, Cleveland has done everything right to this point of the game. The only thing that has not gone their way has been the 2-point conversion that they went for. And you see there the ball moves and rolls on the ground. And it came out after that as well. So there's no way that they're going to have to make this catch stand as he rolls over. Watch this right here, and then the ball's out.
No, it's the process of catching the ball.
And rightfully so, the Patriots rightfully so came up and they were going to snap it. It took Chudzinski a quick decision to throw that challenge flag out there, and that's what the Patriots force you to do.
So Tom Brady still trying to get things cranking up here. Brady has hit 12 of 24 for 158, 1 interception, and a fumble away. The Browns have not given up 100 yards to any rusher this season. They've not given up 300 yards to any passer this season.
Yeah, they're a tough defense, is Cleveland. Then you look at their organization and what's happened to them. Obviously, there's been a lot of turnover since they came back to the National Football League. With Jimmy Haslam, they are showing some signs of stability and the right direction.
Rob Gronkowski in the Patriot locker room now. There he is. Here's the play that sent him there.
Well, there's the hit by T.J. Ward coming in low. Now, Ward didn't know he hurt him. There's Gronkowski being carried off a minute ago, and then Bill Belichick giving Ward kind of the look as he walked by. Everybody congratulating him. There's no way T.J. Ward came in there with the intent of ending Rob Gronkowski's day, let alone the season, or however serious that is. But that's why Gronkowski is so important. Since he came back, they've gone from middle of the pack to a top 5 offense. And to have him be carted off at this point of this game does not spell good things for the Patriots as this season comes to a close and they try to make a run at the playoffs.
Well, as Tom Brady said the other day, Bill Belichick is a relentless preparer, so he's got something to go to now, which is coming away from that run offense.
Well, we don't expect Gronkowski to come miraculously out of the tunnel and return to this game, but Bill Belichick, more so than any head coach in the league, is totally analytical, and he will come up with the best option for the New England Patriots to win whatever game they need to. And he told us in regards to the Ridley benching and all the other decisions he's had to make, he's just trying to win this game this week.
Right now, take a look at this as we see a diving. No question, it's not a catch.
This is the play that's under review now. And
After
that
reviewing
right
the
there.
play, it is an incomplete pass. The receiver did not maintain control of the football as he was going to the ground. It's going to be second down on the 17-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 5:19. Cleveland has won both challenges, so if they have timeouts remaining, they are eligible for one additional challenge.
Belichick looking to rally his team from behind with Beatty. I asked John Madden what makes Bill Belichick such a career winner. He said, I'll tell you what does. He never sits back and admires his work. Because he never sits back, his players never sit back and admire their work. They always grind, and unless you grind in the NFL, said Big John, you're not going to win many.
Well, they're grinders, that's for sure. You walk around that building, it's a grist mill.
Josh Boyce ignites the following here at Gillette Stadium. A 23-yard catch and run to Sean Gibson. Got him down.
This is what the Patriots do. If one of your great players gets taken out, you go to another one. Boyce, one of the young players that has been asked to emerge, was asked to emerge early in this season as Amendola was hurt, Gronkowski was hurt. They had to find somebody to fill the role, and Boyce got some invaluable experience early this season. It's paying off now.
Nice catch, but it might have been on the one hop to Austin or Damian Amendola.
Brady throwing this one out, turns and releases it so quickly, really probably to try and avoid Kruger, I'm sorry, and that's the reason he tried to throw that out there, but yeah, Kruger was standing right between him. He had to do something to try and get it out there, but it forced the bad throw. Great play by Kruger, just being in the right spot.
Josh McDaniels, who played college football at John Carroll in Cleveland, played at the famed Canton McKinley in Ohio high school. LeGarrette Blount now runs. Papa Rubin makes the stop. But the Browns defense, defense travels, Steve, and they keep pounding.
Yeah, you're right. Good teams always have, a good road team always has a stout defense. And down inside, the Cleveland Browns are very stout. We said it at the beginning, Ataba, Rubin, Phil Taylor, those guys down inside are tough with DeQuell Jackson standing behind them.
Brady fires a fastball. Beautiful connection to Julian Edelman. Edelman, a quarterback at Kent State. I asked Belichick one time, he threw a lot of touchdown passes. Would he ever throw one for you? He said, no, I think we'll let Brady handle the passing.
Smart move. They're going to go for it on 4th and 1, and it's the right time to do that. Midfield, you're not giving up that much field position. It's good field position, not great field position. And they need a spark through the Patriots.
4th and 1, and they empty the backfield, and Brady puts his head down and tries for first down behind the center, Ryan Wendell. Logan Mankins and Dan Connolly, the interior guards.
You can say all you want about X's and O's. This is about a quarterback who's good at quarterback sneaks and also knows the value of a quick snap. Watch, he just gets up there and all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. They don't have a chance to hug down inside, cut their splits. The defensive line gets caught, kind of thinking, okay, he gets under, it's too late. Snap it and get it done. Great job by Brady.
Patriots looking to come from behind again. Beautiful thrown underneath. Running ball is the Barrett Blunt. He turns the corner. He's down inside the 20, and he's not done. He gets all the way down to about the 18-yard line. Jackson and Joe Hayden finally brought him down, but it's a 32-yard gain for New England.
Well, it's going to be a play fake. He comes in, kind of chips around, then just turns around and makes himself available. Tom Brady under pressure just flips it to him, and the rest is just instinct and athleticism running through the middle of the defense.
4 down! Brown! 52!
This is the Patriots' first trip to the red zone of the Browns, and here's the ball tipped away. Paul Kruger, who played so well for the Super Bowl champion Ravens last year, had 9 regular season sacks and 4.5 sacks in the postseason.
We just talked about it as he forced an incompletion a moment ago. Now he bats this one down right here. He's going to come up the field and just get where Brady has to look out there to try and throw it. He just can't get there fast enough. Kruger up the field so quick and is so athletic. And, you know, the hand-eye coordination's there. I mean, it's hard to catch a ball like that, let alone bat it.
2nd and 10. Blunt runs, great tackling. Jackson hits and Mingo's with him. So now another big 3rd down.
And the Patriots bring into the game Vereen, who's better in the passing game. I think lately we've seen a lot of Julian Edelman, particularly with Gronkowski out of the lineup at the top of the screen.
Patriots need 7. Look at the heat come. Brady throws, but it's behind the receiver, incomplete. Now, Steve, you take 3 or?
Yeah, you take the 3. It gives you a 9-point disadvantage on that play. Barkevius Mingo came in and bothered Brady before he could release the pass, and I think that's what forced the incompletion. It was just inaccurate because Brady got hit in the back right as he let it go. Mingo right there, you see as he grabs him, and Brady can't follow through on the throw. Mingo won't get credit for a sack, but he made that play.
Look at Gostowski's numbers, 28 of 30, hit 2 53-yarders in the 4th quarter against Houston last week, the second to win the game. And he drives this one through, so the Patriots are on the board, albeit with a field goal deep into the 3rd quarter. It's 12-3 Cleveland. Bill Belichick's seen this movie before, though, Steve.
Yeah. There's not, I mean, there's no question, and it becomes trite when you hear coaches and teams say we're not taking a team lightly, and you see the Browns come in here with a losing record and the Patriots head of the playoffs again. They really did know that they were in for a battle today with this Cleveland defense. Down inside, we've talked about their size. Their linebackers are rangy and they get good depth, and their cornerbacks are top flight. Both of them, Screen and Hayden, and of course Ward, as we saw, is a big hitter in the secondary. I mean, they knew they were in for it, and nobody wanted to hear it.
So Bob Kraft may be feeling a little better, but there's a lot more to dig out from.
Well, he said they were absolutely embarrassed being down 24-0 to the Denver Broncos, although we all know how that turned out with the huge come from behind, the largest in the history of the franchise. But it's never fun to go through that, and because you never know when it's not going to happen. You're going to end up losing that game.
That's what they say, Steve, when you dig yourself into a hole, stop digging, and the Patriots finally got some points. Now they kick off a line drive downfield. And Whitaker, carefully coached, elects not to bring it out. Now let's go to New York and to JB for an update.
Cincy with a little bit of a cushion. Oh, yeah, Andy Dalton, his 2nd touchdown pass today. Play-action pass, Jeremy Gresham in corner end zone. No one's around him. 1-yard touchdown, 28-14 Cincinnati. Notre Dame's finest. Don Cricket, Steve Tasker.
Okay, thank you, JB and Dan. Right now, as we look at the AFC divisional leaders, Denver 10-2, New England 9-3, Colts 8-4. Cincinnati looking more and more like a playoff team. Patriots could get in today. It doesn't look like it the way the other games are developing. They'd need a win here and a loss by either Miami or Baltimore. Wow, look at that, and on the run. Look at this kid run. Josh Gordon busts the game open. They held him down, and then boom.
Aqib Talib told us you gotta not just guard them deep, but sometimes they have that short catch, long run. And the moment Gordon catches this and puts his hand into the chest of Aqib Talib, this play's over. He takes off, and they're not gaining any ground on Josh Gordon. Wow, that guy's got 2 extra gears.
And that an 80-yard scoring play. So the Browns, with their finest moment of this season, are building team, looking to go up 19-3, and they do.
Simple pass play, a quick slant to the outside. He had one-on-one coverage with your best cornerback on the best receiver, and there you go. First player in franchise history with 100 yards in 4 consecutive games. You want to talk about having a good month. This guy had not only 4 consecutive 100-yard games, 2 of them were 200-yard games. You see on this last play, I mean, look at all the space up here. Aqib Talib, that's a tough draw for a defensive back. But it's one these guys relish. I mean, they want the challenge. You see how he kind of bails out because he's got no safety help over the top. And Jason Campbell saw it. And when your quarterback sees it, that's what he's looking for. You can see behind him the Browns bench going crazy. Once he caught it and turned up the field, the Browns bench started raising 2 hands in the air. That was a touchdown. And Jason Campbell, and once he saw that coverage, I think he knew well before that play began where he was going with the football.
Jason Campbell, coming off a concussion that kept him out of last week's game, is at 20 of 32 for 289 and 2 touchdowns. Now Josh Boyce breaks a good return. Tonight on 60 Minutes, a Navy SEAL story of bravery and survival, plus the people who knew Nelson Mandela best on 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS.
Yeah, that last touchdown, Norv Turner had to know that the Patriots were going to come out and try and stop the run, thinking they were going to go conservative, try and nurse a lead, and Norv Turner came out and hit him with the big one right in the mouth. Wow.
Now the Brady and they've got to open up. There's a long ball. Caught! Shane Vereen. So when they had to have it, the Patriots get it. The long ball, 51 yards.
Well, there's nothing spectacular about this except the run and catch as he gets single safety and Vereen just launches it. Just runs right by Robertson, and that's just a linebacker who's outmatched.
Now Brady looks again, checks underneath, goes to Vereen again, and he's all the way down to the 7 or 6 yard line. Well, Jackson gets him down, but it looks to be a 16-yard gain.
And just like Jason Campbell seeing the coverage he wanted, Brady in the last couple of plays has gone right at Craig Robertson, 53.
We're winding down the final ticks of the 3rd quarter here at Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Mass. Touchdown, Patriots. And quickly they go down the field and get back in the game. Vereen on the payoff end.
Well, the crowd finally has something to cheer about. But this is a run game that this run comes from a draw play and the success the Patriots have had on this series. This is just going to come right in here and bounce right out through the secondary. Well blocked up front by the offensive line, aided by the pass plays as the Patriots now are going to go for 2. And this is the first 2-point conversion the Patriots have attempted this season.
Going for 2, setting up quickly.
50.
Browns have everybody up. Jump ball.
2 flags.
Target was Danny Amendola, number 80, Joe Hayden defending, and as he mentioned, 2 flags down.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 23. Half the distance to the goal, replay the try.
It's a good play by Hayden. It would have been 2 points.
Yeah. Who cares? You know, it's not like a first down out on the field. You see there Hayden, who had Amendola in the slot. Amendola gave him the hard inside move, tried to get back to the corner route, and Hayden just grabbed him.
Phil Taylor, the 300, who knows what, how much over 300. Brady had the sneak earlier on a 4th down. He won't hear it, I think, because he goes back into the shotgun. Browns are sending everybody. They're going to blitz. Here it comes. Brady looks. 2 points. Julian Edelman.
When it comes down to moments in the game that are really important for a team who's trailing, you don't think what kind of play, whether it's run or whether it's pass, whether it's a quarterback sneak, you think players. And when the push has come to shove for the Patriots this season, Julian Edelman has been the guy they've tried to get the football to. He's been the guy that's been in on every game. You've had Amendola, Gronkowski in and out of the lineup with injuries. You've had the running backs being benched for fumbling. But the one constant has been number 11 of the Patriots, so Tom Brady. And in that situation, they went right to him.
But beautifully executed play, Steve. He was just standing there waiting for it.
Well, they got 2 shots at it with the holding penalty. So the Patriots, I think, got a really good handle on what at least the philosophy was going to be for the Brown defense, if not the exact defensive call. And they came back. They knew they could protect it up. They gave max protection to Brady, and the Browns just couldn't get there in time to knock the pass down or knock Brady down.
Whitaker brings it out from the goal line. And the crush of special teams covers gets him down at the 22-yard line. Nate Ebner. That's the end of the 3rd quarter. The game again, 19-11. We'll return after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. There's the score by quarter. Very active the 3rd quarter with 24 points scored. Cleveland's lead, 19-11. You remember the Browns went for 2, didn't get it. Had they kicked the extra point, it would be a 2-score game. They would be up by 9. Right now, underneath throw with the ball is Josh Gordon. Last time he had the ball in his hands was at the end of a 80-yard touchdown run and catch. 7-yard gain there.
You can see what happens. The reason he comes free is because they're zoning it off. Nobody runs with him because he's running towards another defender. And the defenders on the other side were cleared out by the near side guys. So they got run deep. It didn't open up a vacancy in the defense, and Josh Gordon was the guy filling it. Last thing the Patriot defense wanted.
2nd and 3. Hightower comes up on the stop on Campbell, but he gets a 1st down run.
You look at the last 4 games that Josh Gordon has been a part of, and you wonder why the Patriots weren't sitting on top of him. Right there, man. 750 yards in the last 4 games. That's enormous. And look at the guy, Calvin Johnson and Charlie Henry for the Oilers.
And he's not done, Josh Gordon. We've got 13:41 to play here in New England. Penalty marker is thrown. Might be a call.
And Aqib Talib
on Josh Gordon. That's the only way you can stop and tackle him before he gets there. Josh Gordon in the 2nd year from Baylor.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 31, 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Gordon was picked in the supplemental draft.
Yeah, they got him for a 2nd-round pick, which will come out of their pool of picks this year. With the Cleveland Browns sitting pretty in the draft coming up. As you see right up here, and you see Talib's got him and won't let him go, and then kicks the back of his feet so he goes down. Good call by the official.
1st down. McGahee. Browns, I think, Steve, are going to want to shorten this game if they can.
Yeah, they're going to pound it out, but there's no question they can't pull the reins in, not after that last drive the Patriots put together. The Browns have still got to keep their foot on the gas and try and score more points in this football game here in the fourth quarter. They know the story with the Patriots and what they've been through the last couple of weeks, and they know that once the Patriots get going, they've got a big engine.
Campbell ready to throw on 2nd and 10. Crossing pattern. Josh Gordon, he is cut hard and upended, but Logan Ryan got him.
This is the same play we saw just a few moments ago. He's going to come across this direction, real shallow, and the defense are all guarding areas of the field, and then as he picks up, you see they converge as they follow the quarterback's eyes toward the receiver.
Line to gain for the first down. Patriots 49. 3rd and 7. Campbell, man. Huge hit. Ninkovich was there first. And now the Browns have to punt. And the Patriots have rallied back to within 8 will get the ball.
And he's coming off the edge, a 4-man rush, and they finally get home. Although as Jason Campbell starts to take off, that's when Jones actually gets it. Jones kind of holding back, trying to bat the pass down, gets to help on the sack along with Ninkovich as the play comes apart for the Browns.
Julian Edelman coming up on the ball. Fair catching at the 19-yard line. So the Patriots get the ball. They are trailing 19-11. We're back, and the Patriots are back in it. Down 19-11 as they come out, starting 1st and 10 at their 19-yard line. They were down 19-3 at one point. Then got a touchdown in 2. Brady. A pop on the ball, and Shane Vereen, the sure-handed one from Cal Berkeley, pulls in another 6-yard gain on the play. Vereen with 5 catches for 99 yards.
And those catches have been just of late. He has started to become the guy in this Patriot offense here in the second half. They've looked around all day and tried to find somebody to get a hot hand. And on that last drive and at the beginning of this one, Vereen has been the guy that has stepped forward, and Brady's looking for him every play.
Brady locked and loaded on 2nd and 4. Comes in low, incomplete.
Once again going at Vereen, and he looked back to where it started in this last drive. It started with the big play down the side, getting man covered by Robertson. He's also again covered by Robertson. He gets loose inside the 10, and then the run up inside, well blocked up front by the Patriots. Vereen squeezes it into the end zone, sets them up for the 2-point conversion, which they got for the 11 points.
3rd down now. Patriots need 4 to keep it going. On target. Here they spot him. The linesman coming in right at the mark.
He got right to the mark before Ward threw him backwards and tackled him behind the line. It looks like they're going to get the line to gain. But they always give him forward progress on this catch, and he is right at just inside the 30-yard line, and the marker's at the 29.
Browns have not allowed a 300-yard passer this season, but Brady's getting close now with 286 yards. 1 touchdown, no touchdown throwing, 1 interception. Did have a 2-point conversion throw.
And they're bringing the chains from all the way from the other side of the field. This is why there's a short delay. And that's got it.
So the Patriots move on with 4 new downs. Rob, Coach Rob, as they call him, Coach Chud, first-year coach of the Cleveland Browns, a very optimistic, upbeat guy. Loves the look of his team and the way they practice, the way they're together. They playing really a fine game today against New England, and then with a big lead. Now it's been cut, and the Patriots are driving again, down by 8. Brady set up the screen and do it well. Shane Vereen. Showtime for Vereen.
Well, they've gone to him almost exclusively during the last 2 series, and it continues. And at some point, some light has got to go off for the Browns. You see T.J. Ward, DeQuell Jackson drop into coverage, and then they have to come back up with offensive linemen to go through. Vereen catching the football, weaving his way through the Browns. No question, the defensive coaching staff are starting to try and find where Vereen's going to line up.
52.
Wiggin for 18 yards on that play. Straight ahead power. And the Patriots bust open the Browns' defensive front, unlocking the run defense that's been so good.
Well, Shane Vereen needed a break, so they send Ridley into the game, who is really their best running back, and then they hand it to him and let him do what he does best. Patriots on the move.
43's the mic.
Look.
Hey, alert.
Cobra.
43's the mic.
Hey, that one.
Wait, Eddie. Wait, that.
Ridley, a guy who's had fumble problems, getting some carries today. Liam McFadden gets him down. But the Patriots driving on, a lot of time left to go. 8:58 to play. Patriots down at the half, 12-0.
Yeah, there's no question the Patriots now are starting to rethink their attack. Now sticking with Stephen Ridley and the run game.
Throw and a catch, and somehow Ridley comes down with the ball. But a very short gain. Less than a yard, really, down to the 36-yard line.
They were trying to get the football to the top side to Edelman. He's not there, so Brady comes off it, and all of a sudden he looks, and Billy Wynn is bearing down on him, and he gets rid of it on the outlet. The ability to make quick reads, quick decisions, and accurate throws is what sets that guy apart.
Accuracy and quick decisions, that's his strong suits. Right now, third down. Patriots need 4 to the 31-yard line of the Browns. Blitz, throw, catch. First down. Austin Collie just re-signed. He's with the Patriots earlier, just years at the Colts.
Austin Collie, who was away from the team for 4 or 5 weeks. He was here for 5 weeks, and now they bring him back, plug him right in. He knew the terminology. They needed him to take some plays. They're not asking him to carry this offense. They just needed a couple of things from him. They're such efficient. They use their roster so efficiently. Everybody on the roster has got to contribute in the game. And on that point, on that spot, Austin Collie made his contribution.
Brady dancing, lofting the ball and getting it away, throwing it away. Before that was a big rush put on there by Armani Bryant.
There's a conversation going. Brady was in the tackle box, got rid of that football, and the nearest receiver was well down the football field. Here's the rush. Now he's right behind the tackle box. He's going to let this go, and there's no question he's throwing it away. The question, and now the flag comes out, and it's an intentional grounding.
Offense, number 12. The quarterback was in the pocket, under duress, and threw the ball into an area where there was no receiver.
Loss of down on intentional grounding.
Second down.
You can see Tom Brady, I mean, he's thinking, hey, I threw the thing 50 yards in the air out of bounds. I mean, it's not like I was under that much duress, but the pressure does get there. 5-man rush as he throws off his back foot and gets it well down the field past the line of scrimmage, but there's nobody there. And it took him a while to sort through that because, you know, he wasn't under that much duress, but there's no question it was a throwaway, so they had to talk about it, and really there was nobody near enough to give him the benefit of the doubt. And that is a good call.
And now it's a long yardage. Second and 21. Here's Brady. The rush is on. He swings it out to an open tight end. Matthew Mulligan, and he leaps over the top. It's down close to the 30-yard line of the Browns. Joe Hayden cutting him and upending him.
Well, there's no question the Browns didn't expect Mulligan to be the guy catching this critical pass, and yet, as we just mentioned a moment ago, everybody has to contribute, and Tom Brady found Mulligan to set him up for at least an opportunity on a 3rd and 7 instead of a 3rd and 20.
6:26 to play. Patriots down by 8. 3rd down and they need 6. Brady swept under. Browns bring the heat and they get there. Paul Kruger breaks through, 99.
We've been talking about how many guys contribute. That's why they're so difficult to defend. And here the Browns finally get home with just a 4-man rush. Great job by Kruger on the up and under, working against Svitek. Goes up and under. Brady tries to turn away from it. It's just too late. 4-man rush by the Browns. What an enormous play by that defense.
And here is the phenomenal Patriot kicker, Gostowski, to try a 50-yarder. Money behind it. On target. It is a 5-point game. Cleveland. So the Patriots kick off when we come back. We're back at Gillette Stadium. Don Prickey with Steve Tasker. Patriots rallying back. They've scored points in their last 3 possessions. They got the lead to 5. It was a 19-3 Browns advantage. A ball on the field, and then it's picked up. And weaving ahead as Fuzzy Whitaker grabbed it off the tip and gets ahead. So now the Browns will look to run clock with that lead when we come back. We're back to Gillette Stadium. 5:38 to play in the game. 19-14 Browns. 1st and 10 Cleveland at their 20. Patriots have rallied back. They were down 19-3. Campbell on target. Jordan Cameron, tight end on a drag underneath. And Campbell, who's played a great football for the Browns, right on target.
Yeah, he saw Cameron come off with single coverage and had plenty of time. And Campbell, if there's one thing he does have, is the ability. He's got experience. He knew it was man-to-man coverage, and he's got a strong arm. He put that way down the field to the sideline, right on Cameron.
13-yard gain on that play. Campbell, 23 of 35 for 312 and 2 touchdowns. Browns have not turned it over. Patriots have turned it over twice. Reverse. Here comes the speed merchant, Josh Gordon. Look at him go, Josh Gordon. And Josh Gordon.
Well,
as the guy told you, Steve, he's not a regular guy.
They go heavy on the right side to make the Patriots think they're going to run a hard power sweep, and then they bring Josh Gordon, as you see here. Once again, we get the idea that this guy's got 1 or 2 extra gears that the rest of us don't have.
And he's got Norv Turner in the box, the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. That was a 34-yard gain.
And immediately they're in field goal position.
1st and 10, Cleveland. Willis McGahee. We welcome those of you who have been watching the Jets game. Jets Oakland. This is Don Prickey with Steve Tasker, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Mass. The New England Patriots were way down in this game. They were down 19-3 over the underdog Browns. And now with Tom Brady pulling magic again out of his tricks, bag of tricks, and right now they're going to Play defense, though, the Patriots, as the Browns have played terrific football with Jason Campbell at quarterback, who's been superb. Second down and 7. Campbell, very mobile. Here comes the heat. 3rd and 7. Ninkovich again. In a wild game, so many things have happened.
This touchdown to begin the second half from Barnage, and then Gronkowski hurt badly on the play, carted off the field, and then the big play from Josh Gordon, who turned the corner and got in for the touchdown. And then Shane Vereen took over for the Patriots offense, and he has been the catalyst that has gotten them back into this game. Rob Gronkowski injured in the 3rd quarter, and New England was shut out in the first half.
New England in the last 4 games has scored only 10 points in 4 first halves, the last 4 total.
And Jerome Bogert telling us there was
10-yard penalty, lost a down, 3rd down.
They called Jason Campbell a moment ago for intentional grounding, which I'm surprised that he's outside the pocket, outside the numbers.
Way
Tries to get, and then he makes the throw, and Obaniah's hit, or that's Whitaker right there, and they don't give him that throwaway.
He was way outside.
Look at the guy's Whitaker got absolutely crushed down the field. So I don't know what I don't know if I agree with that call by the officials, but nevertheless, it brings up a 3rd and 17 for the Cleveland Browns and puts them out of field goal range.
4:06 to go. 19-14 Browns. On 3rd and 17, Campbell steps in. Rifle throw. On target to the 21. Josh Gordon again. A record setter for the Browns. This season he's caught more yardage and passes than any player in Browns history.
Well, if you want to know why Josh Gordon has been playing so well, Aqib Talib, the defender who's guarding him, said, well, everybody's treating him like a regular guy. And he's not a regular guy. Well, right there, Aqib Talib on man-to-man coverage will show you it's hard to guard Josh Gordon. And the Browns just didn't quick snap it as Bill Belichick, as you saw in that catch. That ball hit the ground, and he's challenging that catch.
New England is challenging the rule of the field of a completed catch.
Right now, with 3:32 left to play, and there's a break in the action while they review this play. We're back to Gillette Stadium. Bill Belichick has watched his team rally from behind the last 2 weeks. First half production has been really weak, but now in the second half, Brady comes back into his peak form. They're a great December team. They've won 46 of their last 52 games in December.
Now the question is, they challenge this catch. Now the ball is allowed to hit the ground if it doesn't move in his possession, but look at his left hand. It comes off the football. Now the ball can hit the ground if it doesn't move in his hands. Now his left hand comes off the ball as he rolls over it. And to me, that becomes a no catch when it moves in his possession like it did right there. But if they deem that it didn't roll around in both hands and he kept possession.
After reviewing the play, it is a completed catch.
There it is.
The receiver possessed the ball, going to the ground, had control of the ball.
Tell you, these
Before
officials
the ball
are
hit the ground,
very
the
good.
ball did not move. New England is charged a timeout and a challenge.
And that's, go ahead.
I was going to say, these officials, they're seeing it in real time. We're watching 5 replays in super slow motion. You can't tell.
Well, they got it right the first time. You're correct. And the ball did hit the ground, but that's okay as long as it doesn't roll around in his possession. And they deemed that he didn't lose control of that football even though it hit the ground. And that means the catch stands, puts the Browns inside easy field goal range, plus gives them a first down with a chance to lengthen their lead.
Here we go. 1st and 10. Campbell. Open man. Ball is caught down to the 5-yard line. And again, Jordan Cameron makes a play. Big rangy tight end with his 6th catch of this day for 86 yards, a 16-yard gain.
Jordan Campbell gets thrown to twice as much as the other 2 receivers combined. Josh Gordon and Greg Little get thrown to not as much. If you double both their percentages, Jordan Campbell in the red zone is the guy the Browns go to all the time. And in that case, they went right back to him again, although he came up a little shaken up.
There it is again.
Oh, he's wide open.
Jordan Cameron shaken up, and of course one of the superstars of the NFL. Went out early with a knee injury for the Patriots, Rob Gronkowski.
Well, he got up like he was okay, and I think what happens sometimes is the guy will land on the football and get the wind knocked out of it. And as McCourty comes over, tries to punch it out, and he lands on it. And that, you know.
But this, Steve, so this could be the knockout punch, though, Steve, if the Browns are able to take it in. The Browns are 4-8 team. They came in here talking about the great week of practice they had. Chudzinski, their coach, saying a lot of people say that we had a great week of practice. We're ready for this game.
And they're headed in the right direction in every respect all the way through the season. They have been able to put wins together, but today they've come on the road in a tough place to play and have handled the adversity extremely well.
1st and goal. McGahee got a couple into the heart of the Patriot defense.
Now McGahee stays down as he got knocked hard as he came in. You see there, he's up on the ground. He stayed down, and now the trainers will come out and attend to him. Willis McGahee, a longtime veteran of the NFL, was with Buffalo, was with Baltimore, was with Denver. Norv Turner told me this guy is a warrior. I mean, he's long in the tooth, but he is also a guy that you can depend on.
Spikes gets him here with a shot. Middle backer Brandon Spikes of the Patriots. See if we can hear that hit. It was enormous.
That's 2 of them. Spikes on the first one, and then as the rest of the defense converged to clean up.
Game clock showing 2:43 left to play. At the half, the Patriots were down 12-0 in this game, and the Browns subsequently went up 19-3. Playoff picture. Patriots looking to lock a spot again today, but they'd have to win this game and have a loss by either Miami or Baltimore.
Both those teams are losing. Miami behind, and also Baltimore trailing, and New England trying to, or they're both ahead, excuse me. So it does not look good for the New England Patriots, as both those teams they needed to lose and also for themselves to win. All 3 of those games are going against the Patriots. Most importantly, this one with 2:43 to go, and the Browns inside the 5-yard line with a 5-point lead, and also the Patriots losing a timeout just a few minutes ago on a missed challenge of a completed catch. This is when it looks very dire inside of 3 minutes to go in the game.
Willis McGahee still down, the 11-year veteran from Miami of Florida. Twice a Pro Bowl player. He's had 4 1,000-plus rushing seasons. It's some very important scores. Miami coming back now to take the lead at Pittsburgh, 31-28. And Baltimore leading Minnesota now with just 61 seconds left, 22-19.
I need to say it, and we'll say it one more time. New England needs to win today, and one of those teams, Baltimore or Miami, to lose, and New England would clinch a playoff berth.
So it's good to see Willis is up, but very, very still stunned by that hit coming off the field. He got a lot of work today.
He's unsteady on his feet.
Didn't get a lot of yards, but he was the go-to guy in the short yardage. 14 carries, 35 yards.
You know, that's a guy that coming into this game had 8,441 yards in his career. He has seen a lot.
Bill Belichick's team came in +8 on turnovers this season. They're -2 in this game. Brady was intercepted, and he also lost a fumble. But as Rob Chudzinski said to us, Steve, the Patriots know they're never out of a game when they have Tom Brady in there. Time is now becoming very much a factor. 2:43 to play, and the Browns' offense a bigger factor with the ball inside the Patriot 5-yard line.
It sounds simple to say, but one of the crucial elements about these plays for the Browns down here is they cannot turn the football over.
Oh, is that the truth? Have not turned it over today. Tremendous crowd noise at Gillette. Throw, open receiver, touchdown Browns, Jordan Cameron.
We said it just a few minutes ago that Jordan Cameron by far is the guy the Browns try to get the football to in the red zone, and he is standing all by himself for the touchdown. The play action, play fake was outstanding by Campbell. He fakes the play inside. Ninkovich sees it, but Campbell retreats so fast he can't get there, and Cameron is completely wide open.
Extra point as good as the Browns now extend to a 26-14 lead with just 2:39 to play.
Willis McGay, he just left the game, so they really didn't have their power runner in. Watch, the play action comes in. Everybody is going to attack the line of scrimmage, and nobody follows Jordan to the corner as he waits, and then escapes. And Collins, the first guy to take off and run after him, you got to think maybe he remembered all too late that he had coverage.
Yeah, Patriots brought the play fake. They looked run. And Jordan Cameron with his 5th touchdown catch of the season. And the Browns in a commanding position, 26-14 with 2:39 to play.
Well, you want to talk about digging yourself a hole. The Patriots now are looking up, trying to do some math, gymnastics to figure out how they're going to win this game. You can bet they haven't given up on it with that much time left, and as good as it looks for the Cleveland Browns, there's no give up in the Patriots.
Coming up on the Subway postgame show, join JB and company for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Subway postgame show. Don Criqui with Steve Tasker, Gillette Stadium in New England with the Patriots. Coming in with a 9-3 record, but having the battle away from behind in the recent games with poor first-half offensive performances. Today they found the same dilemma.
And you know that Browns fans have been hearing things, positive thoughts come out of the Browns building for a long time and a lot of years. And I'll tell you what, it's not just talk now under Chudzinski and this regime. These guys are headed in the right direction.
Ball on the field. Picked up by Matthew Slater. And now can Tom Brady, Steve, work magic again? Not much time to do it.
Well, even if he works magic, he's going to have to do it more than once. Now with trailing by 12.
Yeah. They need 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they got to have 2 touchdowns, and field goals are not going to help them.
The last time the Cleveland Browns won here at New England was in the 90s. Bill Belichick was coach of the Browns. Checking down to Shane Vereen, but he's quickly knocked back. Latrell Jackson, who is all over the field, the captain of the Browns, tackle after tackle. He also has an interception today. Brady, what an arm, what accuracy. Edelman out for the first down.
And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning unless they can spike this ball, and that will be the 2-minute warning.
23 yards on that play. So 2 minutes to play at Foxborough, Mass. And the Browns in the lead by 12. Coming up on the NFL Subway postgame show, join JB and company for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. All coming up on the Subway postgame show. Well, Patriots fans with obvious concern as the Patriots now need 2 touchdowns to win this game. They right now are a long way from the Cleveland goal line. 1st and 10 from the Patriot 47. Brady. And does he get down? Beautifully thrown ball to Edelman. Brady now 25 of 43 for 371 yards, 371. So he's the first guy this season the Browns have allowed to pass for over 300. Brady hits, releases the ball.
That's got to be a penalty for intentional grounding.
Billy Wynn got him.
No, yeah, okay. Vereen's standing there. Vereen's going to end up being in the vicinity of where Brady tried to throw this. He's being held right there, no question, by Sheard. Smart play by Sheard.
I think, Steve, you got to start taking some deep shots now with 1:39 to go and needing 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and you only have one timeout left.
Brady looks. No deep shot. Checks down. Vereen with yet another catch, his 10th of the day for 135 yards.
And look for on that last play and the first 2 plays of this drive. The big plays were 2 identical plays to Edelman right down the seam, and he's lined up there once again. We'll see if they hit him down the pipe again.
Crossing pattern run by Edelman, gets out of bounds, stops the clock with 1:29 left to play.
Well, they're trying to stop the clock every time, but they're still trying to gain yards. They've got to get on. They've got to get this touchdown, no question, and then they've got to get another possession by onside kick.
First things first, though, they got to get in the end zone. And the Browns, with that defense that came into this game, ranked number 4 in the NFL in yards allowed.
Yeah, this Browns defense has proven today it's no joke. Those guys can really play. The Patriots told us coming in they were worried about their ability to adjust and to be big down inside and their linebackers' ability to run and of course their cornerbacks, and the Browns have proven them to be correct. They are stout defensively.
Under their new coordinator, Ray Horton, a former defensive back primarily with the Bengals, played also with Cowboys. Most recently with Arizona. And here's a throw over the middle. Heading for the end zone, but not in. Is Shane Vereen. Fast offense, and Brady spikes the ball with 1:09 left to play.
And this is the Vereen right up the top, just outside the left tackle as he takes the quick in, and then you think he might get in, but the Browns smartly, DeQuell Jackson right there, and Ward just trying to hem him in, keep him on his feet, not let him get to the end zone.
Vereen now, Steve, with 12 catches today, 40 for the season coming out of the backfield. To the run. Browns aren't buying it. They play run stop Vereen.
And Bill Belichick takes their final timeout.
Jabal Sheard, the lead tackler, number 97.
Yeah, to run the football right there is a big risk for the Patriots. They needed to get in, and that cost them their final timeout, and it brings up 3rd down. Now, granted, 3rd down is really like 2nd down in this situation because it's 4-down territory at this point of the game. But there's no question Bill Belichick didn't want to have to use his timeout, and that run play was a roll of the dice that, like a lot of other things today, didn't go their way.
Robert Chudzinski coaching in just his 13th NFL game as a head coach. Bill Belichick coaching in his 227th NFL game as a head coach. He spent 5 years at Cleveland from 91 through the 95 season.
180! 180! Good.
3rd and goal.
180!
Chess game between Brady and the Browns defense. End zone catch. Great play. Edelman extends to the ball and holds on.
And now they got a penalty flag as well, probably for a hit on a defenseless receiver. Looks like it might have been a pick as well.
They put the score up, 26-20. With the extra point coming up, the Patriots did hit a 2-point throw earlier in this game, second half. Browns missed a 2-point try when they went up 12-0.
The ruling on the field is a touchdown. Additionally, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 33, contact on a defenseless receiver. Half the distance to the goal. The 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
But the kickoff is obvious going to be an onside kick.
Right, and that's huge at that point. But you'll see Edelman come from right to left to your screen. DeQuell Jackson just misses it, and there's, well, I don't know, he hit him with the shoulder. His head missed Edelman. I don't know that, I'll tell you what, they called that on Poyer. I don't think Poyer will get fined for that. Not that anybody cares at this moment. There's a little bit of football left to be played. 1:01 to go, and there's going to be an onside kick after this extra point attempt.
Gostowski has had absolutely a Hall of Fame season. Kicked 2 53-yarders in the fourth quarter last week. Second one winning the game against Houston. And now it's 26-21. Browns in the lead. 61 seconds left, and the Patriots will be trying an onside kick. In the 94 wild card game at Cleveland, with his team trailing by 7 with less than 2 minutes remaining, Matt Barr tried an onside kick that was recovered by Orlando Brown of New England. Happening today, it's been 330 games, including postseason, since New England has recovered an onside kick, the longest active streak in the NFL. Will they have to recover one now if they're to somehow pull this game out?
And they're working with a personal foul on that touchdown that puts the ball at the 50. Now this, for the Browns to defend this, they've got to attack the football. You got to go get it. If you recover it before it goes 10 yards, you can't be touched, so you know you're going to have a clean shot at it. Try and catch it on a clean bounce. For the Patriots, you can't make contact with any of the Browns players until the ball goes 10 yards. Now the play for the Browns is, if it gets up in the air, bat it out of bounds. Nothing bad can happen if the ball goes out of bounds. For the Patriots, anything goes. Get the ball.
They used to be in that business of recovering onside kicks. Fight for the ball. Looks like the Patriots have it. The Patriots have the ball with a minute to play.
They're marking it past the 10-yard line where it had to go. Now this is a kick, and it's a change of possession, so it'll be reviewed automatically. But they're spotting the ball short of the 40. Now it's got to go to the 40-yard line, you'll see, and nobody can touch it until it gets there. Now that I think the Patriot looked like, it looked like Gostowski touched it with his hand as it comes down. But one of the Browns touched it right there, but I think there's a chance that Gostowski might have touched it with his right hand before it goes 40, right there, but I don't think so. That's recovered by the Patriots.
Boy, Kyle Arrington might have got it.
The question is, does Gostowski touch this right here as it bounces off the turf? Right there.
And will the words of Chudzinski, Browns coach, be prophetic when he said the Patriots know they're never out of the game?
No, he didn't.
With Brady at quarterback.
That's a clean recovery for the Patriots. It's under review. Arrington right on top of it, catches it off the bad bounce off Whitaker.
Well, that's a fine art. Topping the ball, letting it bounce, waiting for it to get 10 yards.
Well, the most unbelievable thing about it is the fact that you have to wait. You have to run along this football knowing that everybody in the stadium is trying to get to the same place where you're standing, and violence is on the way.
Well, the injury to Gronkowski certainly fanned the fire of emotion in this Patriot team when he made a great catch and run and then was hit, suffered a knee injury on the hit and left the game on the cart. In the locker room now.
Yeah, it looked like Fuzzy Whitaker's the guy that the ball bounced up against. And that's why the Patriots, it's legal, even if the ball doesn't go 10 yards, if a Brown touches it before it goes 10 yards, it becomes live. And the Patriots came up with it when Arrington jumped on it.
Scott O'Brien, special teams coach of the Patriots, was in the same position with the Browns when Bill Belichick was there as head coach. Last time the Browns have won at New England when Bill Belichick was the coach.
That's a long
of the
time.
Cleveland Browns.
That's a long time.
92. 21 years. They're going to play football.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. The receiving team player number 35 takes the ball at the 9-yard line. So it's ultimately
no overturn. We're ready to play.
First and 10, New England.
Well, there's no way this is going to go to overtime with the 5-point differential on the scoreboard. 1 minute to play. New England has 0 timeouts. They've got to score a touchdown in a game when they have played so poorly throughout most of it, excepting 2 drives they put together. It's been a long day for Tom Brady in this offense.
A master at making the plays you have to make, at finding a way. Brady looks, lobs. Down to the 30-yard line. Amendola, good open field tackle. Keeps the clock running. It's a first down to the 30. Patriots have to score a touchdown to win the game. Long ball. Receiver off his hands. And the penalty marker's down. James Boyce diving at the ball. And the Patriots set up with a first and goal.
You see working right there. They're tied up. McFadden trying to hang in. He puts his hand in. That's pretty incidental to me, but the official standing right there watching the whole way. That to me seems like a pretty soft call.
Defense number 23. A foul occurred in the end zone. The ball replaced at the 1-yard line.
I think it's a horrible call. I think it's a horrible call. They're barely touching.
Touch call.
That was a touch call, and that's certainly most of the. There's no way that happened. There was interference in the end zone, maybe outside the end zone, maybe. I doubt it. That's, I think, a terrible call.
But be that as it may, it is a first and goal for the Patriots at the 1-yard line. Earlier in this game, on a 4th and 1, the Patriots went for it. They got it on a Brady keep. Just a dive behind his center, Ryan Wendell. 35 seconds to go. The Browns are battling as hard as the Browns team has ever battled, and that's a lot of battle.
That's right. And this Patriot team is probably thinking they deserve a good call in the end zone. A couple of weeks ago, they lost a game in Carolina with a linebacker draped all over Rob Gronkowski, and they were up in arms about it. And here, the call goes their way.
These Patriot fans have seen some remarkable things here in this great success run.
Yeah, you just never walk out of this stadium until there are double zeros on the clock.
35 seconds left. Patriots with no timeouts. Brady looks like he's going to throw. Brady on a rollout. Ball is caught. Touchdown! Brady and the Patriots have done it again. Amendola.
Now they'll have to go for 2 to make sure they try and get a 3-point lead, to make sure that if something unthinkable happens and the Browns can get into field goal range, they can only tie it. So they will go for 2 here. But what a turn of events for the Patriots, and of course the Cleveland Browns can't believe that the Patriots look like they're going to get off the hook.
Roll out, Amendola dives towards the pylon, and he goes! Now the 2-point conversion try. They hit their last one on a throw to an open tight end. Run. They didn't get in, so the Browns with a 1-point game now. New England. Here's the touchdown play, Steve.
Yeah, they ran a little rub play, as you see. Screen trying to get to the corner, and Amendola getting right to the pylon. Well thrown by Brady.
Phenomenal game. The Patriots down 12-0 at halftime today on their home field against the Browns. The Patriots with only 10 total points in their last 4 first halves. But in the second half, it's Brady time.
They even got down 19-3 at one point in the second half, and they came back with 2 touchdowns, spearheaded by Shane Vereen. And that's the difference. Those are the last 2 weeks, down 24 and down again the next week. Unbelievable how this team finds a way to stay in the hunt.
Well, in their scoreless first half, Brady threw for 95 yards. And their comeback in the second half, he's thrown for 323. He's thrown for over 400 yards against a defense that had not given up a 300-yard passing game this season. So now the Browns, the long way to go to set up a long field goal try.
I bet that the key for the Browns is going to be picking up the pressure of the Patriots. They may bring a lot. If they bring pressure, they're going to expect to get home. But they may drop out 8 into coverage. You have to protect Jason Campbell first and then try and get separation in the secondary. They got 3 deep safeties, so it looks like it's going to be a 3-man rush.
And they have an outfield back there, playing a 3 deep. 25 yards off the line of scrimmage. Campbell steps in. Out pattern on the run, getting out of bounds, stopping the clock with 25 seconds to play. Billy Cundiff, the Browns' place kicker, was an all-pro player in 2010 with the Ravens. He has hit 2 of 3 from 50 yards plus this year. There he is, Billy Cundiff, 8th year from Drake. And they've got a long way to go to get him in range. Second and 1. The Browns with no timeouts. Long ball. On target, not out of bounds. Jordan Cameron, the former USC tight end and basketball player, gracefully coming to the sideline.
All they need is 18 more yards, and they are well within range. They need really only another 13 yards to make it a 57-yard kick, which is not out of the realm of possibility. Now, that's a long kick, no question. His long this year is 51.
But they probably, Steve, don't have the middle of the field to work with no timeouts. It's got to be a sideline throw. Patriots know that. Devon Bess loses the ball, does stop the clock. 15 seconds to go now, 2nd and 10. The Browns battling to get in field goal range and pass.
57-yarder.
We got it.
1 second. It's going to be a 59-yard field goal. And Cundiff is already on the field.
Cundiff with 2 for 3 over 50 yards in the 2-11 AFC Championship game.
That'll be not 59. It might be 58.
Had a great moment. This is it. A 58-yard field goal. Not enough. It's over, and the Patriots have done it again, rallying back in the fourth quarter to win it 27-26.
It's a win for the Patriots. They'll celebrate it, but you can tell by the look on Bill Belichick's face, although it never changes much, he is not going to be very happy.
Losing Gronkowski today to an apparent knee injury.
Jason Campbell coming back after being out for a week with a concussion was superb today. And once again, the Patriots rally from a big deficit to win the game when Billy Cundiff's 58-yard field goal does not get far enough.
His career best prior to that, Cundiff, was a 56-yard make. So Tom Brady and the Patriots march into the playoffs again, up their record to 10-3 with 3 straight come-from-behind wins. The final score, Patriots 27, Browns 26. Coming up next, the Subway post-game show.